Yeah, it should be okay. I'm pretty confident that'll work just fine.
I keep finding out after the fact that I was coming through soft, so
Okay.
I can try to avoid it.
You know, Twitch has this different live now. Cool. There we go. And they set up things a little bit differently here on Twitch. Hey, everybody. Buster66. Hey, Cartier Logic. And Samarin, Faye Barsh, and the IB Wizard, which is Faye and David Good as our administrators for the Photoshop page, and JW Vaughn, welcome. Sit tight. We're just kind of broadcasting just a little bit early, just to kind of get things open. Um, we've already got 10 people here. It's going to grow pretty quickly. Not quite 10 o'clock yet. And I will be recording all this as well. So later on, everybody gets to have access to the recording. I send that recording out to the user group. Hey, IB Wizard, welcome. And in fact, Faye and David Good, would you send out promos for the group? I just put one recently into our Photoshop chat room. Would you send out a promo to all of your personal friends and stuff? The both of you, that we can start pulling people in.
Doesn't seem like I can chat comment right here in StreamYard, so I'm gonna
Well, no, you
go to
cannot.
go to Twitch for that.
Yeah, go to Twitch.
Normally you should be able to, but
Well, I've got it. It's showing up on my Twitch. It's weird. So
oh, I see IB Wizard there,
I'm
but
going
I
to say
don't see.
hello. Come on, I can't even type today. Hello. All right, you probably see my comment, right?
Yep. Yeah, I can
Okay.
see them. I just can't seem to comment myself.
Oh, you can't comment, huh?
But I think
Oh,
I
that's
can in the. I've got the I've got the Twitch chat open here.
okay.
So I was gonna send, for instance, a couple of links, maybe.
Right. So let's see. Is there? I don't see an option for. Oh, there. I see it now. Now, okay, I see you going through Twitch.
Yeah, right
Yep,
through
that's
Twitch.
coming up. Okay, great. I wonder why it doesn't allow you to comment.
Yeah, it's strange. Should I've never been. I've always been the host with the Streamyard. I've never been
Right.
the. But the I believe it's maybe it's not possible for from my side. I'm not sure. All right. Well, there's a link to Photomatix Facebook group. We can mention that as we go.
All right.
And
And I'm going to send out the quick. And guys, we'll get started here in about 5 minutes. Just want to kind of get things checked out. Light chasers. Okay. I'm going to send it to them as well. Just doing some quick little promos, sending out just quick little notices saying, hey, come join us. Okay. I'm curious if anybody who's on Twitch here, if you can, let me go check something out here. I want to go turn the sound on. All right. Yep, there we go. That's good. I'm coming through fine. Perfect. Hey, everybody. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes or so.
you know,
Welcome.
Stephen, and anybody else that's there, if you want to do it, you could put the Streamyard link in there, and someone could come on and ask a question or show something of their own or whatever. They could be live on there. If
Well,
most people won't, but that
right.
thing is always there. So if you have a volunteer, they can pop up and You can have them join in, or
And that,
you can send the link privately if you want.
yeah, well, that's exactly what I do for the Lightwave group. That's
Oh,
tomorrow.
cool.
Today is you.
Well,
tomorrow,
it's really
tomorrow,
good
tomorrow.
for questions because you can be like, if somebody asks a question, we answer it how we think the question is. That's
Yeah.
fine, but they can come back and have a quick discussion about it. It's pretty fun.
Oh yeah. It'll be nice. Most of these guys don't have headsets. Trust me, they don't.
Yeah, that's true.
The
That's the
Lightwave
problem.
guys do. The Lightwave guys are really good about it. 3D guys are really good, and they actually come on. I allow them to come on. But a lot of the Photoshop people, they're not set up for it. So
They're not audio people, right?
yeah, they're audio people. Well, they'll type in the chat box. I mean, they're really
Right.
good about that. They're always asking questions in the chat box. All
That's
right,
what
more
I find
people.
whenever I offer that someone can come on when I do these. Then most people don't, but
Yeah, they
it is
don't.
fun when they do.
They're not set up for it.
Yeah.
They don't want to show their face.
They come in from their iPhone out in the mountains. It's pretty cool.
Exactly. Yep, there's growing. People are starting to log in. Hey, welcome everybody to Digital Creativity with Stephen Burns, aka Chromalogian. We're going to be getting started here in about a couple of minutes. I'm just doing a little bit of tests. We have now, if anybody is familiar with HDR photography, where you're learning to produce a high dynamic range image, the very first company on the scene was Photomatix. Today, in my opinion, is still absolutely outstanding. Photomatix, Photomatix is here with us. so, it's going to be a special meeting. We're just doing just a little bit of tests here. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. And then we will this is being recorded as well, so keep that in mind. Now, make sure you follow me here on Twitch. So if you're logged on Twitch, I'm sure everybody's signed in. Just follow me so that every time we have a stream like this, you're going to be notified. We're going to have another stream tomorrow, which is going to specialize on 3D. Okay. And you're welcome to join us then. Just come on in. It's all free. If you want access to all the videos on this site, then definitely, become you subscribe to the channel. It's just $4 a month, right? And you get access to everything that we're doing. Quite a number of people have been subscribers. Thank you, everybody. Ryan just put up a link here to Photomatix software. We're going to be doing a giveaway today of Photomatix. We're going to do a giveaway of a 1-year subscription to the Creative Cloud, and we will be doing a giveaway to the 5-week Photoshop workshop class. So we got some. Now, we rarely do 3 giveaways at one time. It's usually 1 or 2. Most of the time, 1. But you guys are here at the special presentation, and Christmas is coming up. So what better time to get into the Christmas spirit than oh, IB Wisdom says, oh yeah, he loves it. You're welcome. And let's see, YQ Wisers 1219 want to become famous by followers. Oh, okay, that's a spam. Let's see. How do we get rid of spams here on Twitch?
That's a
I'm
good
going to have to
question.
figure. That's a very good question. So if I click on the name, I can say, or I can add a friend, whisper, and that's what the
Can you
options.
ban them or kick them?
I'm trying to find that out now. And I know there is a way, because I've done it before, but it's been so long since I've done it. All right. Whatever you guys do, don't click on that link there. I'm trying to figure out. Maybe Faye or David, you can give me do a little research on how to ban somebody on here, and then let me know. Bam spammers.
Didn't take long.
No, didn't take long. You put the lime in the coconut. Okay, great.
Get a
Boy, my
Corona and a lime and
humor.
watch some football.
I like that song actually. That song is timeless. All right, let's go ahead and get rocking and rolling. Let me start recording our broadcast. I'm using a new platform today. Let me kind of maximize it here. Cool. All right, there we go. So everybody's just seeing, and then I'm going to maximize it again. I may have to actually reduce this down a little bit, but I'm going to maximize it again so that you're only seeing the screen. Let me go ahead and start the recording here. All right, welcome everybody to the Photoshop Users Group. This is the Digital Creativity with Stephen Burns, or AKA Chromolution channel on Twitch. Great to be back again. I just got back from my Death Valley workshop. We had a fabulous time. It was a 3.5 day workshop. We went to Death Valley, hit the ghost towns, the sand dunes, the volcanic landscapes, the salt flats. It was an absolutely fabulous no class. So we had a great time. I'm slowly getting recuperating because it's a lot of it's just fabulous what you see out there. Your mind just goes into this whole creative mode. And then taking other photographers out there to some of my favorite locations to get them out of their homes and out to somewhere that's going to inspire them to create fabulous photos. And during these workshops, we have critique every day. We have Photoshop workshops throughout the classes, so that you learn how to actually digitally manipulate your photos and post processing to make them award winning. So we had a really good time. I scheduled a new class. I'll put little links in here in the chat box. Once in a while you see something come up, so it gives you the ability to kind of go check out and see what's going on. So I also want to mention that we have lost a dear friend of mine and also a very important member of the photography community, David King, my personal friend as well as mentor, passed away of colon cancer 3 weeks ago, approximately. So we're going to have some type of a memorial for him. The memorial will be online. Being that I was out in Death Valley, and also Cynthia Sinclair, who's also going to be help me pull the memorial together. We both are out in Death Valley shooting last week, so this weekend we're going to figure out a date, and then you'll be notified as to when that's going to happen. So I'll put a links in here. If you're not on the mailing list for the Photoshop Users Group, then make sure that you become. It's all free. I'll put a link in here for you to sign up for that as well. All right, so today's presentation is going to be focused on high dynamic range imaging. Ron Pepper is here from HDR Soft, who makes Photomatix. And a lot of photographers are using HDR photography techniques, but very few people understand exactly, how to use the software, what's going on in the software, and what to look for when they're producing HDR images in the end. So, Ron, I'm going to bring you on. Actually, I'm going to change the layout here just a little bit. Actually, I'll keep it the same way until you're ready to go start getting to the software. Now, I think I'm sharing my screen. So let me stop sharing my screen and go ahead and share your screen. So we have a new layout here. I'm using StreamYard, and instead of OBS, this is really Ron's idea. Ron introduced me to StreamYard, and I absolutely love it. Hey, Faye, welcome. Um, let's see who else has just jumped in here. Let me say hello to everybody. So, hello, Buster66. Hello, Curdy Logic. Hello, Citizen Hade. Citizen Hade, I guess is or Fade, Citizen Fade. Cimarron, welcome. Cynthia Anna, welcome. D Skier, welcome. Dreddy3, welcome. Faye Barsh, welcome. IB Wizard, welcome. JW Vaughn, welcome. Mariotis, welcome. Ron is here, of course. And TJ Best, welcome. Great to see you, TJ. And this is going to be packing up here a little bit too. So welcome, everybody. And Ron, are you sharing your screen?
Yes, you can go ahead and
Okay,
put mine
cool.
up.
So let me go ahead and add that to the stream. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove, I guess I can remove me off here. I'm just getting used to the software, everybody. So,
You can leave us up there on the side. That works.
all right.
Or you can go back and forth. You're going to really love controlling that. Have fun with that.
Well, I think I want to let everybody just see your screen, and then I'm going to
Okay.
maximize it. There we go. Cool. All right. So, Ron, take it away.
All right. Well, hello everybody. It looks like a whole different audience for me. I don't know if I don't know any of the names that you've been talking about in the chat, so that's good. probably people that don't know me and I don't know them. So my name is Ron. I'm with the Photomatix team, and I'm San Francisco Bay Area photographer for many, many years, and I specialize in 360 degree photography. And one reason I mention that is just to kind of let you know who you're listening to here, is that I've been part of the Photomatix team since I think 2008 or 9, and that's been in a lot of different roles. But one of them is answering photography questions and helping people get started with it. And we're a small company, so that means I get to do things like this too, do demos and the things that I really enjoy doing that. I got into HDR, or interested in it originally because it was to solve a serious problem that I had as somebody that was really interested in 360 degree photography. You might guess, and that that 360 that I have running on the screen there is a good example of the dynamic range when you're considering all 360 degrees by also under 180 degrees by. So that means that when I'm shooting images, very often the sun is in my scene, and very often I can't choose a new angle or avoid things for good lighting. So you have to work with the lighting that you have. And there are a lot of rules that get broken doing that. Like there's not much use to use the good hours of the day for lighting. A lot of times you're shooting in the middle of the day. So I'm using this example to show the extreme dynamic range of the beach and the sky. And it's not a bad looking place anyway, so it's good to use as a sample. But the beach and the sky is going to be about 10 or 12 stops dynamic range difference from the interior of this this hotel room. So what an extreme dynamic range. And one of the rules with 360s is you really have to shoot with the same settings all the way around. You can't really change shutter speeds and things for different directions. So it's been a huge part of my life for a long time. That's why I wanted to introduce it with the 360s, to show just an extreme example of shooting such a wide dynamic range that there had to be a solution. So before there was Photomatix, before HDR had been brought to photography, it was really used for 3D creation. And they used it for lighting information. And once this huge advancement came out so that we could tone map those HDR images, then it opened up a whole new world. A lot less layering, and I was doing this before layer masks came out, so we were just erasing on top of layers and stuff like that. So that's where I'm coming from, is just shooting brackets for so long for that solution. Obviously, I'm a normal photographer as well. So nowadays, one of the main things I use it for is non-360 real estate type photography. So that can be exteriors that are in just not in the base light, because one of the challenges with real estate is that you're shooting when you can shoot. You probably don't have time to plan and scout and wait for the right moments and the right light. So you're in there doing what you need to do. Another big challenge is just the interior scene with a bright window, a lot like the panoramas that you were looking at. There's a bright windows outside. And I was in San Francisco for so long where the view is really important. So we really wanted to cover that whole dynamic range. And that can be much more dynamic range than even some of the new cameras. They're touting the really wide dynamic range, and that's great. They're getting better, but I haven't found anything yet that will let me shoot an interior that is somewhat dark and still capturing the outside view very well. Okay, so that's a bit of introduction about why or where I'm coming from, and I wanted to point out first that I like questions, so please shoot them in the comments, and I'll trust Stephen to chime in and let me know if they come up.
Okay? Absolutely, I will.
All right, thanks. Listening to me by myself, need some help. Let's have some interaction here. Okay, well, we're if you want to follow along and and try some of these things either while we're doing this or afterward, you can go where I'm showing on the screen now. It's just hdrsoft.com is the hub for a lot of this information. The download page has anybody can download anytime, free trial, doesn't expire. There's no 30 days or anything. It adds a watermark onto processed images, so you can try it all you want. If you don't have bracketed images, you can even download some of those. And I might use some of these as samples today, depending on the questions that come up or which direction we go today. But either my own samples or samples from the website. On the download page, there's even a link to where it says exposure bracketing. There's a link to bracketed photo samples, and there are a bunch of them. I don't know if you can see this. They'll probably get a little bit small on the screen share, but you can download those samples all at once on the bottom if you want to. And there's a lot of different types of scenes there, including an interior, which I consider to be the challenging kind of shot. Okay, and that the download link is also, I added it in the early comments on there, so you can scroll to the beginning of the comments, I think. So let's see. So like I said, I come from a bit of the pragmatic type of HDR photographer. I haven't been too much of the fine art or so you won't see too much from me that has that look. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about is HDR got famous for a certain kind of a look, which took some of us by surprise because I was using it for a lighting replacement. And again, to go back, we can actually do this 360 in HDR if we want to today. I dug that up as a sample. But I was using it as replacing lighting because I couldn't light a whole scene and then rotate a camera to shoot all the different scenes and move lighting around. It would be, quite the nightmare to try to do all that. So this is supposed to be a lighting replacement. That does not mean that I'll never do something artsy. I'm trying to go back to that. Hold on. Let's see some of these. So it doesn't mean I won't do something that looks like HDR like this once in a while, or something this might look like HDR to most people, and it is. So it's not that I don't do that ever, but like I say, HDR has been a problem solver to me. So I want to mention that that's how I look at it. Is it's a tool in my toolkit. So when I go and do certain kinds of shooting, like real estate is a good, or people in architecture, that's a really great use for it. And now going back to these some of the galleries. These are galleries of a lot of users that have contributed, and you'll find all manner of not realistic and realistic throughout here. So, so we can embrace both of those things. A lot of people make a really wonderful portfolio out of very artistic and kind of unrealistic looking images, but some of it's great, and a lot of people are using it quietly to not have to carry around and set up lighting equipment. Instead of spending all afternoon doing that, you can bracket a set of images very quickly. So let's do that. Let's move into what bracketing is all about, because we'll process some images by all means, but I always like to stress strongly that the best way to get your good images results is to bracket properly to really capture the whole dynamic range. I guess garbage in, garbage out, or something like that.
Yeah, and I probably should mention also that most of us who are Photoshop users are well aware that we have HDR software built into Photoshop,
Mm-hmm.
but it's nothing like Photomatix, which I think you're going to quickly find out. Um, So yeah, chime in with any questions, everybody.
Yeah, I should say, Photoshop came out with HDR in what was it, mid 2000s, right?
Mid 2000s, I think it's much later.
Early. Uh, let's see.
Because
Well,
this is 2020. So I don't think their HDR software is 20 years old.
oh yeah, 2005.
Really?
I think the plugin, it's 2004, 2005, yeah. And that create okay that and they came out with HDR. Now again, HDR was used for 3D. It wasn't anything new. 3D file is not an image. It's a 3D whole bunch of data held together. It's lighting information, and that was used for 3D. So when you I wish I had a good demo of this. When you create a 3D environment and you drive your flashy new car that it's also a 3D creation, it doesn't exist yet. That way, the lights and the reflections can all look really realistic when you have that. So when Photoshop brought it in, it was bad for photography. It was there, but it was bad. So that created a demand. And guess who created a plugin right away for that? That was where Photomatix started. And just to make a it's not even a brag for me. I didn't do it, but the 3D, the 360-degree photography people really encouraged this to happen. So that's one reason that Photomatix started
And
too. So
and IB Wizard confirmed that yes, it was 2005 that Adobe put HDR into Photoshop.
yeah, yeah. Hey, we're artists. We know our stuff. We just don't know data, right? We have a feel for it. And all right. So let's talk about bracketing just a little bit. Just kind of looking at my notes and see if there's anything I wanted to mention. Any questions come up yet?
Nope.
Come on, guys. All right. So here's a scene that was just an interior scene, and this is a raw bracketed. This is not. This is considered the center image, where it couldn't capture the whole dynamic range. And here's a shot that has the exposure right for the outside, and then everything in between. This is probably exposed mostly well for the inside and really overexposed. And I think, yeah, I mean, I over bracketed in that case because cameras tend to offer 3, 5, 7, or 9, right? So you can't usually do 6 to be precise. So that a couple of results from that is kind of muted and realistic and a little bit vibrant or oversaturated. So a couple different kinds of results. We can go through them and play with them if we want. But what I want to point out is that this is a scene. It's a simple everyday place, like a shooting, like common spaces in an apartment kind of thing. And there's no way to capture that all at once. Another example of not being able to capture it all at once would be would be here we go. Okay, here's a office that couldn't be captured all at once. So here's the exterior exposure, and then again everything in between going to being exposed for the very darkest shadows of the scene. So like even those black chairs get exposed properly, and then those can be combined into this very easily. So with no lighting. So what I wanted to mention was, let's see, the same can go for exteriors. The same can go for kind of artsy type. I was out in the mountains at a old
Very
shack. So
cool.
so when we're talking about bracketing, there something I hear all the time, because part of what I do too is when people say, "Can you help me out? I'm not getting the results I want." And a lot of times it'll be, "I took my 3 shots. How come it isn't beautiful?" And The answer sometimes, hey, lots of times 3 shots is enough, especially if you're outside. Typically, that's enough. And I know that everyone is out there saying, take your, and then I have to keep myself calm when I say this out loud. People say, you take the correct exposure and then 2 over and 2 under. So if anybody, I assume everybody here knows about all this. So just
Right.
stop me,
It's,
or comment. I'm
it's
talking to pretty high expertise here. Yeah.
right. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, most of the time, I think we hear that you take your normal shot as you would expose it normally, and then take them, and then two more shots. One, two stops under, and the third one, two stops over.
Right. And just to be clear, just in case that we have people out there wondering what that is, what we're talking about is f-stops. Now, when you say 2 stops over, that we're going to always change our shutter speed only.
Right.
So for bracketing, we'll go off on a quick tangent here. On bracketing, you set your aperture, set
Right.
your ISO, and then your bracketing is only changing the shutter speeds.
And explain to them why.
Yes. ISO, I've seen people bracket ISO, and that's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not the norm either. We could go into, it would be a back and forth pros and cons if we want to talk about that later.
Right. For me, for my opinion is never change your ISO.
Me too, but I just don't want to be. A lot of times I'll say, I never do something, but very rarely. Usually, almost everything in photography is a lot of it depends, and there's a lot of pros and cons, and I'm a big believer in that. So I
That's
don't
right.
want to, but now aperture, don't change that because that'll impact your focus.
Right.
So,
And Dave 3D guy just responded on Twitch saying that ISO introduces unwanted changing your ISO will introduce unwanted grain.
put a pin in that. Who is that, Dave?
Dave 3D guy. Yes.
Can you remind me about that? I have a noise. I have a secret insider noise reduction trick.
Ooh, cool. Great. Looking forward to it.
So but the one thing is, I will say, do not change your aperture. So there's one where I'll say that's a rule, right?
Right.
And the reason is that aperture will. I'm sure again everybody knows this, but if you're changing your aperture, you might change a bit your focus plane, and so that could result easily in a very soft image. Like you probably won't notice that it's exactly out of focus, but you'll get that soft image and probably wonder why. How come I'm getting this weird?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that you know, Dave 3D guy also mentioned noise reduction. He can't wait to see it. And then DP Skier just responded saying ISO will also move or jar the camera and kills alignment.
Oh, at least without thinking about it right away, I don't know why that is. That's interesting. I want to hear more, either either now or later.
Yeah, well, maybe DP Skier can expand on that comment.
Oh yeah, will also move or jar the camera. Now, does that mean because you're grabbing
Well,
it and
I know that changing your aperture will do that. I know that changing your focal plane or your point of focus will do that. Um, I wasn't aware that ISO did that. I would love DB Skier, please expand on that comment. I would like to hear more.
well, if he means because or just to throw another comment about this, if you're talking about changing it by grabbing the camera and rotating dials, in any case, then that could go for shutter speed too. If you're holding the camera, let's assume it's on a tripod, but it doesn't have to be, and we'll talk about alignment too
Right.
later. But if you're on a tripod and you're moving dials around and stuff like that, there can be some movement in the camera by all means.
That's exactly what he's saying. He's
Okay.
saying he just responded. He says to change the ISO, you touch the camera. There's usually no auto bracketing of ISO as there is with aperture or shutter speed. So he's yeah he's agreeing with you.
Okay. Well, to if you're on a tripod, it's not going to be a problem because if you're the amount that you're going, well, unless you really try or you really do something, kick the tripod or whatever. But if you have it pretty well established on a tripod and you're changing settings on the camera, the alignment and Photomatix will totally take care of that amount
Okay.
of movement. You can hand hold. I do it all the time. You can
Yeah.
hand hold your camera and shoot brackets, the same rules would apply, of course, for just hand, a fast enough shutter speed so that there isn't just blurriness. But that's the same rules that apply for any handhold shot.
Right.
The difference is when you do set on your bracketing, you might not realize that it's going to a pretty slow shutter speed, because if a rule of thumb, like I'll be on on vacation, I'll have my Olympus that has open free bracketing, and I'll just set it to bracket 5 shots at 2 spacing, and it's totally over bracketing. But that way I can just almost do snapshots, and I can be covering this huge dynamic range, and I'd be shots that wouldn't have happened because they're at the bad time of day where you're on a tour or whatever, right? And shots that
Right.
wouldn't have been any good, you can bring some, bring some, elevate them by just kind of over bracketing. And so my rule of thumb is I set it at 3/20th of a second,
Hmm.
and that way the slowest speed is where I feel comfortable hand holding it. And
Now,
and
now, J.W. Vaughn made a comment. He says that focus is less of a problem than change in depth of field when the aperture changes.
yeah, I guess that's what I mean. That I was maybe a little sloppy when I said it, but the because the depth of field, like I said, the focus plane will change, I guess is the way
Right.
I would say it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Dave 3D guy has also made I think he has a question here. It says, does this software handle misaligned bracketed images?
Yeah, totally.
And he's going to show you
Yeah,
actually.
we'll do some of that. Yeah.
Okay.
I was right now, and thanks guys for bringing these up. These are great. And I wanted to talk a little about the shutter speeds first, just to kind of get that covered. So what I what I wanted to say about the when people say there's the properly exposed and then over and under, to me that makes no sense, because the proper exposure is capturing the range. And so and actually the reason we're using bracketing in HDR is that the correct one isn't enough. So there really isn't a correct one. I don't like the idea of a correct one then over and under. So if my bracketed samples are showing up okay here on the screen, then let's see here. It might show visually a little better what I mean. So the center shot. Now this is bracketing. I bracketed 9. This camera only allows 1 EV spacing, 1 exposure value, so one stop of shutter speed. So I took 9. This would be 5 shots at 2 spacing, would be the same. So that doesn't look like a correct shot in any way, does it? But that's the center shot.
Right.
So there's overexposure and underexposure all in the same shot. There's nothing correct about this, except that it has friends that are very underexposed on the interior, but it's got the mountain and the sky out there, and everything in between, all the way up to completely burned out outside. And now it's correctly exposed in the darkest areas. So that's the important thing to, in fact, I took one more there. So that's the important thing, to cover the whole range. Otherwise, how can you expect to get anything decent as a result,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I've loved this as a sample. Like, I've played with this image for a long time, just because there's so many ways to process it. It's on a tripod, so I'm gonna grab a different one just because we mentioned the alignment. And at the same time, I can show what I mean by let's see. I'm just trying to grab a sample that kind of takes care of 2 birds, or at least 2 birds.
Hey, I'll
Okay.
take care of all the birds in one shot.
Okay. Go. Any noticeable difference in the result if you use a very large bracket amount, like 20? You mean 20 stops of exposure covered, right? Not 20. No, yeah. Okay, that wouldn't mean 20. I thought you were going to ask, like, what if I spaced it out by 3 stops or 4 stops? Because I get that question a lot too. Don't do that. Don't go over 2 typically. With newer cameras that are full frame, you might be able to go over 2, but that's a rule of thumb. I know, like, again, as a Photomatix guy, that's kind of one of our rules of thumb. But I'm seeing that, you know, the dynamic range of cameras is getting better. My Micro Four Thirds camera does not have good dynamic range. My full frame cameras do. So there's some small in just thoughts. I wanted to bring up one more use that I wanted to bring up. So uses for HDR, and we could. So you saw, like, where I come from is the panorama. It's a problem solver, is what it is. People are using for architecture and real estate. Real estate's huge for that because you don't have to set up lights. You can get in and out fast. Artistic things that HDR is probably most famous for, which is funny because that's probably not what most people are using it for. But I wanted to show. Here's an example of. I just wanted to get. I'm a photographer, and there was the eclipse a couple of years ago, and I couldn't go see the eclipse. I forgot what it's called, but where you see the full. I can't remember the terms now, but
Oh
the
yeah,
full eclipse. There,
yeah. So with the ring around it.
yeah.
Yeah.
There was like an area where you could go in the world that oh, I'm not on camera now, am I? Good. I was. Sorry. I just no. I just noticed that we're just a full screen, so I don't have to worry about the weird motions I'm making. There was a place you could go and a pathway you could go, and you could get the shots of the full eclipse. But I wasn't in that. I was in San Francisco, and I was busy and all that, right? But so we had a partial eclipse, but I wanted to get out and just get something. I mean, it's an event, right? So I went downtown, and I wish I could find maybe maybe when I have a break, I'll find a little quick. I had a quick portfolio. I like to say that when you can't get the shot you want, still get some shots. And I had a fun time going out. I got creative shots instead of the same shot everybody else got that was able to see the full eclipse. I got creative ones. And I got some pretty fun ones of the people in downtown San Francisco that all flooded out of the offices to go look at it. And it was pretty fun. So, that's another use for it, is to make something when there's nothing, might have been nothing there. And I know this looks like HDR, but I like it as a creative solution. Like, this is what the eclipse looked like for us in downtown San Francisco. And there's that brand new, loved and hated Salesforce tower that wasn't even complete yet. So I got to do something like, you could make up a story to this, like heaven or the other one opening up, like coming through. So
Right.
it was just a chance to make something, because here's what it looked like in a single shot from the camera. There wasn't anything there. It looks like the
Right.
moon. It looks like the moon.
Now, Dave 3D guy made a comment. He says he has a polarizer lens.
Mm-hmm.
He has a polarizer lens attached, and he could capture video and dial it up and down, up from black to blown out over 100 frames. Now, I think
With the
he's kind of getting,
polarizer.
yeah, I guess he's getting real creative with this.
Yeah. Hey, there are, I can't tell you too much detail about this, but it's been on my list. People have been bracketing via filter,
Right.
which I find interesting.
Hmm.
So you get your neutral density filter, and Eve,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
never thought about that.
right? Isn't that
That's
interesting?
interesting.
Because then you don't, well, the pros and cons. You're changing, or either, so these filters you can rotate, or you can change them, right? So you'd be doing work in that way, but you'd be able to have the same shutter speed, the same aperture, and the same ISO. So I can see definite benefits to that. But that's something else for maybe someone wants to make a blog article about that.
Yeah. Now, they've made a comment about so is more better. I'm not quite sure what he means by that.
um,
You might want to
noticeable
elaborate on
difference.
that, Dave.
No, okay. So back to any noticeable difference first.
More exposures. Got it.
In
Okay.
the result, if very large bracket amount, like 20 exposure. Okay, so let's say you have a space that has like an interior. They're usually the highest dynamic range are the interiors. So that could be anything like my 9 stop. My camera that takes 9 stops is usually enough. Sometimes I have to add a couple more. So let's say up to 12. So if I took one EV spacing and I took 12 shots, is that better than taking half the shots with 2 EV spacing? I think that's what he's asking.
Right.
Or you could even, there are people that bracket 1/3 of a stop. So yeah, you could take 20 shots at 1/3 or 2/3 of a stop.
Right.
The answer is it's arguable. I okay. My opinion, all my opinion, nothing else, is that most people shoot 2 spacing because a lot of cameras do that.
Right.
Mine that I've had forever until just recently, my main one of my main camera for work, it was 1 EV spacing max. There are ways around it. You can get a ProMote control that'll open up control. You can get a different camera. You can do Canons have firmware hacks, all kinds of things you can do. But I use 1 spacing almost always, and I feel like I like my results better when I do that. I can't quite quantify it, Dave, but I would love to hear. I mean, I'd like to hear what people, if they're experimenting with it, what they think, because it takes a lot more. I mean, time, card and hard drive space, and all kinds of things. It takes more to have all those extra images, but I feel like I get smoother transitions. Yeah, and why not? Like there's more detail covered, so it seems logical to me. So we've never been able to quantify it or prove it, so to speak. Okay, so I'll just use this rather unusual walking around in the middle of the day shot that you see on my screen right now as a quick sample. We'll run it in Photomatix. One reason is that it needs alignment because it's just handheld. And let's see, for the record, what were the shutter speeds? I don't think this is right. I don't think I set it at f22, but 1/1000th. There are 2 shots at 8,000th of a second. I'm sure people can guess why. That's the fastest speed that camera allows, and I didn't account for that. But this is a really wide dynamic range, taking 7 shots at 2 spacing. That's a lot. So I clearly just did it on purpose. I think I overdid it on purpose, not knowing what I was really going to get. It was all experimental. So it went from 8,000th of a second and all the way to 1/15th of a second. So hand holding, that's an Olympus with that's the Olympus, right? Yeah. And that has, 29 different stabilizers in it and everything. So 1/15th of a second shouldn't be a problem, even at 60 millimeter focal length. So, okay, so that's what we're working with. And actually, I think the slowest one is maybe a little shaky. So, okay, so I'm going to grab them. I'm going to only take one of them. That's at 8,000th. No, you know what? I'll take both of them to point out one more thing. There are a few problems with this thing that that are solvable. So I'm just dragging these into my Photomatix icon, which I'm sorry is on the other screen, but here we go. Okay. All right. So it asked me, do I want to merge to HDR or just open the files? Almost always we're going to merge, right? So we'll hit OK. Okay. This is the one I mentioned that I'm bringing in both of them that have the 8,000th speed, because this is a warning. You normally wouldn't get it, but when Photomatix detects either no exposure information or that more than one has the same exposure, which is the case here, it'll give you this warning. So sometimes I get messages that say, I'm getting an error message. No, that's helping you. It's saying that right there, you probably can't read this, but it says 2 or more of your images have the same exposure information. So it's asking for some details of how much EV spacing. So just makes sense when you read the message. So we'll go next.
Okay, so now Dave 3D has a question real quick.
Shoot.
He says, can it auto detect exposures, or do the images have to be numbered incrementally?
It will, in the case of what I did there, if there's no exposure information, it'll guess based on what's in the images, and it you almost always does fine. If
Okay.
if you're batch processing, which if there's interest in that, we can talk. I can show you later. If you're batch processing, there are ways of detecting like a whole huge folder of images. You can set parameters. Well, if they're all like three brackets, then it's easy. But there are ways of telling it what parameters to oops, I just put my display to sleep. Hope that doesn't change anything. Oh, yeah, it does. I need to share again.
There again. Yep.
I accidentally put my cursor in the corner, and
Let's bring that back out. All right,
sorry,
share.
well,
Oh, there we go. And there you go.
doing four things at once. Sorry, what was what was I going on and on about there?
But keep in mind, Dave, that all HDR software, including Photoshops, as well as what was the other one? Aurora. That's put out by um, what's the company? MacFun, not MacFun. This
They're called
Skylum.
yeah.
Skylum's the name of the company. They changed it from MacFun. All that software is doing is just reading the metadata that's been attached to your photograph.
Yeah, it wants it's better if you have that, because HDR is a highly technical file that it creates, and it does a better job if that information's there. But Photomatix has will will look at what's in the images when that's not the case, and it'll do its best to figure out what's going on. If you get the message that there's no metadata in it, that's almost always because like people will export from something else, export from Lightroom or export from another app, and there are always these options to remove the metadata. So just make sure that that's not happening. Like Lightroom, for instance, has where you can remove. I think you can remove just the personal details and leave other things. So just make sure that that metadata is still there. Okay, so here's where if you're using a solid tripod, you can in this box here. This is normally the first one you'll see. These are all the options of combining the bracketed images. So first one's alignment, pretty common thing. When it's handheld, definitely click alignment. If it's on a tripod, it's kind of optional. There are even settings under alignment for if you're on a tripod, because it will ignore certain kinds of movements, like I forgot now, rotating or something. I can't remember, but it's faster, and that's a good reason to use it. If it's on a solid tripod, a lot of times I just turn alignment off. Handheld, I'm pretty good at it, so I use handheld minimal, kind of the minimal movement choice most of the time, or just handheld standard. It's just going to look for typical ways that the camera moves when you're hand holding it. Don't it's not going to fix giant motions. So hold it steady as you can, but just be in a human way. It should take care of almost any alignment issue. The only time I see problems is when there's a clear parallax, meaning there's a close by something close by, like a pole, and then with the motion of the camera is so much that the far away details are covered. Some are covered by the pole, and then when you move, then others are covered, and so that it can't fix parallax. That's just not going to happen, obviously. So okay, and also for this image, the sun and the moon. When you shoot sun and moon, or especially the moon, well, I guess the moon. Never mind. When you're shooting moon photos, the moon moves faster than you would expect. So I'm going to use, we've been doing, for a while there, I was doing full moon shoots most months. And I learned a lot about the moon, and that thing moves. You have to have a pretty fast shutter speed, and it'll move between shots. So I'm going to apply some removal of ghosting. So Alignment comes from when the camera's moving. Ghosting comes from when things are moving in your scene. So a car, a person moving in your scene, clearly they're going to move between shots, and you want to adjust for that. You want to not have a ghost of a person or whatever's moving. So I'm going to use that. I'm not going to use noise reduction or chromatic aberration reduction because these are TIFF files, and that should normally be done on a raw conversion to TIFF or to JPEG. I think that's usually the best place to apply noise and chromatic aberration reduction. So that's already done. This last one here is to show the 32-bit unprocessed image. Okay, so if anybody wants to save their 32-bit image, it's pretty rare. There's not much need for it anymore, but that's where you get into that that data file. That's not much use, except that you could reload it and without combining, you could reload it without keeping the original bracketed images, but that's probably the only reason that most people are going to do that. So let's, okay, so I'm going to click here where it says align and show ghosting. So we're going to have another step coming up after it aligns. Okay, so this is the deghosting step, and it's just showing us a basic preview. I'm just going to do something rough. This is well, you can tell how old it is when the eclipse happened. So selective deghosting lets me draw an area that I identify as being in need of deghosting instead of letting the automatic one do it, because the automatic, well, it's automatic, and this is for when you want to let it take control, and that's not the case here. So I'm just going to do a really quick circle around the eclipse here. Choose mark it as ghosted area, and you can also right click and choose which one of the source images you want to draw from. So that would be the darkest, that'd be the one with the eclipse in it here. So let's see what happens. It's like I say, it's all a very experimental, for fun kind of image. So that'll bring up our main preview image and let us really go to town playing around with all the different kinds of settings that we've got. Usually the initial view is the settings I had used the last time. So it doesn't, it's not trying to give you what it thinks is what you should do. Going around, let's see, we can talk details about sliders a bit, but if we talked about every slider, we would be here all weekend long. And the reason is that all the sliders you see on the left over there, that's for one method that's offered by Photomatix. So we won't do this right now. We could get into the weeds with up on the top left there are a whole number of different kinds of algorithms or engines or styles of processing. And each one has its own group of sliders. And so, like I say, we could be here all day long. What I'd like to mention here is that, again, there are different options in how it processes. So everything from details enhancer, which is that's the original, the OG of all this tone mapping, and it's the one where it's easy to get that look from. So we can play around with that. It's also could be the most powerful one, really. It does so much. So we can get extreme. Let's get an extreme preview here. That's too extreme, but this is something like I finalized, I guess, with the sample that you saw, something like that. So that gives us that bursting out of the heavens kind of a look. You can get realistic. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no! I'm saying nice.
So this is probably I don't recall how much messing around I did in trying to find this is something where I didn't have a vision. I just played with a situation and I tried to find something fun out of it, right? And so I like this one. It did something that it's very uncommon. It's not gonna, something you're not gonna see around. Now, the more realistic and natural types of settings didn't really help me in this case, but that doesn't mean I can't try them out, play around. It seems like that white point is the big deal because that's part of the sun, right? So it was pretty extreme. So we got to include pretty much all of our white highlights, which means that our balance flips fast. I should probably oversaturate that too. Okay, now I'm just starting to play again. But okay, so you can see that this wide range of possibilities. But to help with finding those kinds of possibilities, you have a lot of, I should say, since there are so many possibilities, and it frankly gets there's just a lot to think about. So that's where I find presets come in. I'm not a big preset person as far as using a preset to create finished work, especially in a professional setting. But what they do is let you try things very easily and see, pre-visualize where you can get close. So these have, that's kind of cool, actually. So you can, it's things that I probably wouldn't have thought of. Or I might have not have, that's kind of cool too, that I wouldn't have gotten to myself. And each one of those presets may or may not be using the same engine that I mentioned that comes up on the left over there. It's kind of secondary. You don't really have to worry about that anymore. You don't have to worry about which kind of underlying algorithm you're using. You can get really close by using those. And you can even go to these up on the top right, there's even a filter for artistic type of presets, realistic ones especially made for real estate, for black and white, on and on. So those are trying to get you closer to where you want to be. And we can get off this sort of our create. I use the word creative. That way, if someone's not liking it, I can say it's just creative, right? But I'm going to get out of that one. Oh, just to finish kind of the workflow. Which one did we like the best so far?
Yeah, I think presets are kind of nice. It gives you an idea as to where the software is going. But it's even more important that as artists that we understand the concept of depth, what the shadows are really for, what are those midtones are for, what are those highlights are for, and how to interpret them in the way that's going to make your image expressive. So oftentimes photographers use this software for technical reasons to try to get detail in the shadow, midtones, and the highlights. They're not always thinking about ways to make their images more expressive.
That's a really good way to put it. That's a subject that I really like about using this, because what's the purpose we were talking about? Like if I go back to looking at the non-combined ones, this is what you would call a high contrast scene, right? And the whole purpose of what we're doing here with HDR is to reduce contrast, bring it all together. So think about a histogram, that the viewable histogram that we're used to looking at just gets blown away by some of these scenes. The details would be so far outside of that histogram for a lot of these scenes that we're using this tool to solve this issue by pushing those details back into the center so they fit into a regular histogram. So you guys, Photoshop people are probably all about the histogram, and just think about squishing it back into that histogram so it's viewable again. And that's what we're doing. So the whole purpose is to reduce or to take that high contrast scene and work with the contrast and reduce the contrast. So when it works so well, we end up with a no contrast image, and that's no good either, right? So if it works so well that the darks aren't dark and the shadows aren't shadows anymore, then what kind of image is that? what's the adage? Is who said that shadows are the soul of the photo of the image? Is that
Well, if we're talking about music and we talk about and you think about the bass, the drums, or the deep bass is the thing, is the substance that catapults the other notes forward, right? So I'm looking at your shading as being the base that you're going to be pushing forward your midtones and your highlights in various stages of luminosity, which is going to be giving your image a three-dimensional look and feel.
right? Well, that brings up the importance, to me, the importance of post processing. Like I consider the HDR step as part of the workflow, but not the final part of the workflow.
Right.
And so almost any this doesn't go for all situations. There are kinds of work that you can get directly out of a batch process is fine, but for the most part, you're still going to be in there. First thing I go for when I get back into Lightroom is I grab the black slider and the white slider and start working in the contrast that I want and the details. So that
So Dave 3D guy mentions has a question. He says, "What is creating the halo around the tower?"
oh shoot, I shouldn't have closed it. But I will. Let me get something else that has
Sure.
halos. What's a good halo? What's a good simple? Let me grab a kind of a classic demo image. That'll have some halos, I think. Wouldn't you know? When I move stuff around, because I was going to do a demo today, and then this one will probably have. This is kind of your. So here's the scene that's been processed.
Okay.
And so it's not extremely high dynamic range, but those clouds really add in. That's one of the things that really will blow out an image, right? Is some bright clouds. So let me grab these three images. Yes, three images. After I said all that. Okay, so we'll merge those. These are not by me. I don't know if they need alignment. So let's run the regular alignment. When in doubt, just run the regular minimal handheld. Oh, will this have heavy halos? Let me see. Let me see if it'll have, because those clouds are on. Usually, let me just start out by saying halos really are a thing of the past. Like I wouldn't, nothing should be finished with halos. But if we do something extreme, this doesn't have what I would consider your classic halos. Let's see. Dave, do you consider that to be halos? I don't really. There's some. Here's some. If I go extreme, let me know if that's not what you mean. But
Let's
see on the very top.
this may not be the great example because your tonal range is you pretty much have a full tonal range throughout this whole image from the get go. But the halos often happens when you have those extreme contrast situations,
Yeah.
like the dark building and a pretty and bright white sky
Let me get up.
that delineates the edge of your subject matter.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, well, we can do this. I like this. This is one of
There we
my.
go. Yeah, that should work.
This
Yeah,
is one
that
of my. This is one of my favorites because it's also a kind of a artistic or creative type of image, and there's so many things I can do with it. So let me grab because I know this will halo if I make it on purpose. Okay, hold on. All right, so I just did no. I think I did tripod alignment.
let's give sacrifice to the halo gods.
Yeah, let's cover it because halos don't need to be they don't need to happen anymore.
That's right. They don't do okay. It's a little bit going on there.
Yeah, they can make it more. Here we go. See that?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all,
Oh, halo.
I can. We'll see if this is true, but with one click, I can have no halos. I will expand on that. Hang on.
All right.
Okay. Halos were like early on. in one of the first kinds of HDR. And not that it never happens. I mean, it happens because, like you said, it's in where the highlights hit the something darker.
All right.
First of all, if you look at a lot of just say like mountain with a sky behind it, halos are natural. They happen in photos that are not HDR. So that's part of it. But HDR's job also is to bring all that together, right? So now using that first method that I mentioned, the details enhancer, you can get some halos, and these are very middle of the road settings, kind of standard flat settings for details enhancer. But if you go strong settings, boom, lots of halos. So there's that's a pretty typical halo there, right, on the roof there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, here it's much more. And I had a dirty sensor. Look at that. Let's see, regular. I'm just trying to find some halos. Okay, there's a slider called Smooth Highlights. So that is one of the things it was there for, is to smooth out halos. So first, they only really happen in extreme settings. And then when they do, you can reduce them a lot right away with smooth highlights. But I don't know how many people watching are interested in these extreme settings. To me, this is not something it's not my style.
Right.
So
You want to be able, you want to be able to control those shadows, midtones, and the highlights. And here, the highlights are getting away from you.
Well, that's true. The details enhancer has more control, or has more kind of just raw power, but then it's easy to go too far. So there are a few. The main way to do it is to use something called Fusion. So Fusion Natural, you just don't get halos. You can still play with strengths, and it's Fusion is a great way to get right away very natural, clean results. So it's used a lot for architecture, real estate, stuff like that. There's just halos are not an issue. One reason halos happen too is that thing of not covering the dynamic range. That's another part of it. Is that if you're not covering the shadows, for instance, then it's gonna fight against. Actually, I don't know the reasons why. This is just from my own experience of doing it. Is if you're not covering the dynamic range, you'll often, and you're in that classic outdoor landscape shot, that can happen for sure. So capturing the range is first and foremost. Anybody watching this, I hope anytime you're playing around with bracketing or getting serious about it either way, that I hope you'll be really focusing on getting the whole dynamic range. Even if you overshoot like I did in a couple of those samples, even if you have a completely blown out one that doesn't get used, just overshoot. Or we'll talk a little bit, if we get a second, if you guys want to, we can talk about how to very deliberately capture exactly the right full dynamic range. But I have a feeling this crowd is pretty comfortable already with covering it. So with halos, avoid extreme, just powerful settings. So those images that start to look not realistic anymore are the ones that are going to have probably the halos. And
Right.
there are a lot of methods that just simply don't have that issue. Fusion is one of them. Going back up here, tone compressor is one of them. This is one that you can also keep it really simple. We'll
Now
decenter it.
Dave has another question. He says, "Will Photomatix let you use masking? Seems like you could use one of the underexposed, high contrast images to isolate the building as a mask. Might be good for combating halos."
There's not masking directly in there, but there is local area adjustments. Like it's called blending in Photomatix, where well, first, don't do that for halos. For halos, do the stuff I was saying, like make sure to cover it And then if you do have the halos, because you're doing something creative like I was doing with that eclipse, then use the the smoothing, the the slider for that purpose. What am I trying to say? I'm getting a little tongue tied. The smooth highlight slider is really for that purpose. So if you do run into the halos, use that. But again, keeping the settings more realistic is the best way to go. And using yeah, some of these methods that don't have that issue. Let's see. So then if you're using one of these methods and you're not, there's some specific area that you want to adjust, we can use a brush tool in the blending section. Down here, this is probably again a little small to see on the screen share, so I will try to give a play-by-play. I clicked on the brush button, and then I can choose which one of my source images that I want to draw from. And here's a good reason to have shot one EV spacing instead of two. I just have more options this way, so that's kind of cool. So I can choose like +2 and just see what I get. I've got the brush set at 50% opacity, and just, I don't know, I'll just bring in some. That's not doing too much there, so we'll go to the +3. Let's bring some of that back so I could lighten up some of the areas that I feel like are too dark without affecting any other part of the image. So I'm not sure if that helps with what you were saying, Dave, but you could, I guess if you really wanted to, you could brush on the halos, but
Right.
I find a more elegant, I think there are better options than
Right.
that.
Oh yeah. I think where you really want that the technique that Dave is talking about is in Photoshop. Yeah, Photoshop. I mean, remember, your HDR software is designed to get you the product that you want, and the way that I work with it, it's not the final product.
Right.
What you want, I'll do several different versions of it, and I'll save it out to a hard drive, bring it into Photoshop, and use masking in Photoshop to bring in any of the visual information that I want to be applied to my final image. Also, MS Bubblebee just joined us from Queensland, Australia. Welcome to
Cool.
the stream.
Hello,
Very cool.
Australia.
Yeah.
Hello, Australia. Well, what I'd encourage Dave, and by the way, he's a 3D guy. He probably knows exactly what I'm talking about with using 360-degree HDR panoramas for lighting information for motion capture and stuff. Right? Right, Dave? Right?
Right.
So
Yeah, David, like you.
what I really highly recommend, especially I'm not picking on Dave, but I'm kind of because
We always pick on Dave.
oh, do we? Oh, good, cool, okay. I mean, we hear about halos a lot, but it's not a big deal anymore. You just use you capture the dynamic range and don't use those extreme settings and use fusion. Use all these, take advantage of all these different. What are we up to? 4, 5, 6. I would call six the 6 things that I use. Different engines, different algorithms to do this. Just don't use the kinds of things that would bring halos. They don't need to be there. You don't need to go into Photoshop and mask and move around and heal, and you don't need to do any of that. Or at least in rare, it would be really rare. Just don't use those kinds of settings. It should be a thing of the past.
So
If
Dave mentioned that he uses 360-degree brackets for VFX on TV, movies, and other stuff. Rescular 3D, welcome. Hey man. So Rescular is making a comment saying, thanks to JJ Abrams, Halo is the thing.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And lens flare, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, what they say is, oh boy, what is it? Like a Rick Salmonism or something, where one image out of focus is an out of focus image, but 50 of them is a style, right? So if you're gonna go with halos, go with it. Make some great art, and there are gorgeous images out there with heavy halos. It's just it's not. It's not again. I'm always I've come from and continue to be looking for the realistic result, which I could probably bring up here for demos now. And so halos have been a thing of the past, and on the rare time that it comes up, I mean, I consider doing like a Photoshop solution for a halo. I call that surgery. That's like, you know, moving pixels around when, like, if I'm stitching something and I really did something wrong and I just can't fix it the right way, I'll go and do surgery. I'll clone, I'll heal, I'll select, you know, that's surgery. But that's to fix something extreme. And I'm just encouraging you guys to look at other styles. Don't hey, halos were a thing, no question, but
Well,
it doesn't have to be anymore. So I'm saying try it, try other methods in Photomatix. If you haven't tried it for a long time, by all means, there's a lot
so
new. So
Rusker, thinking of surgery, Rusker 3D made a comment about at his age when he sees Halo, he's thinking of glaucoma.
I don't get it.
Glaucoma. Okay.
The eyebrow. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, it took me a second. Yeah, maybe if someone sees too many halos, that could
Yeah.
be that.
Time to get your eyes fixed.
So when somebody says, "How do I fix the halos in this image?" and I don't see the halos, then I say, "You must have glaucoma." Is that the thing?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, so this image is this probably 10 years old, and I've probably processed it in 50 different ways and had fun with it and tried to change, see what would I do with it this year, based because, you know, we look back at our old images and we hate them, right, and things we would have done differently. And so I just think it has, you know, it has the actual sun in the image. You couldn't get a higher dynamic range than that with this dark old place out in the mountains, and where was that? Colorado, I think. So it can, and just looking at these, just looking at the presets, there are just so many different things that can be done with it. And I'm just kind of going through that to encourage people to indeed see what can be done with it. I hate to even click on some of these. Well, part of that image is cool. Get into black and whites even directly here. That's kind of nice. So try the different methods, and you know, if you have a artistic side, then try all the different things. If you're need a problem solve for you know, for like a base layer for an architectural image, or could be a final one for real estate, then try the realistic ones. There's a filter up here that says realistic. There's one that says real estate, literally directly, and that's for like interior scenes. So which direction should we go to a realistic one next? Let me
Yeah, you
think.
know what? Let's do a 15-minute break.
Okay.
It's about that time.
Yep.
This time we could do a little bit of a bathroom break, or get up, stretch your legs. So it's almost about an hour and a half already. So I told you it's going to go
Wow.
pretty quickly. I know it's
Jeez.
fast.
Yeah.
It's fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the good old handy dandy 15-minute timer thing. So that everybody knows we're coming back in 15 minutes. Now, if you like, I've also have some. Let's see. I should have Photomatix on this machine. I want to make sure. I think I'm absolutely positive that I do. There it is. Okay. So if you like me to share something that I've shot using Photomatix, I'll be happy to. Um, and then after your presentation, maybe you want to leave 15 minutes or something. I can do something just to share with everybody. Kind of my approach using HDR as well.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'll bring up like maybe like this one or something for real estate
yeah,
next, like a
yeah. Let
kind of
me
an everyday. And we'll go with some realistic ones, because again, that's
yeah.
where I come from. And we can talk about, you know, if maybe you guys can let us know like what you've been wondering about, just like halos. I love to attack that, because
Hmm.
that's one of the that's kind of one of the myths I like to shoot down, is that I mean, they, not that they don't exist, it's just that it's easy to deal with now. So let us know those, and I'll bring up some realistic stuff and take it from there
Oh,
after.
that would be great. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. All right, guys, 15-minute break, and let's go ahead and maximize this. And when that hits zero, we're back. Thank you for joining us. This is fantastic. Let me do a shout out to everybody here. Let's see who's here. We had a bunch of new people join in. So Atten, welcome. Let's see who I did not mention yet. Oh hell, I'll just mention everybody. Atten, Buster X66, Cartier Logic, Commander Root, Cimarron, Cynthiana, Dave 3D Guy, DP Skier, Dreddy 3, Essence, Faye Barsh, IB Wizard, Adele, let's see, Idolara, welcome. JW Vaughn, welcome. Mike Mackinson's, welcome. Great to see you. Mariotis, welcome. Ron Pepper is here, our presenter. Wrestler 3D, welcome. Sadie's, let's see, Saddest Kitty, welcome. We've got Tom, let's see, Tom Ta, MZ, I guess. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that one. Welcome to the Digital Creativity with Stephen Burns, aka Chromolution. Toaster Crash, welcome. V&K, welcome. Virgo Praz, welcome. Escarapi, welcome. Okay, guys, we'll be back in 15 minutes. Well, actually 13 minutes now. Thank you for joining. Hey, take a little bit of a break, stretch your legs.
Hey, Stephen, are
Yeah,
we on?
no, not yet. We got a few minutes. I forgot you needed to share the screen, the 15-minute screen. I wasn't sharing my screen. I know I will, but
I need
not
to share
yet.
the
We still
screen.
got time. Um, I'm looking for. I want to share the third screen or second screen. Hold on, just a minute. Screen share. Don't worry, I'll get back to
You
you.
don't. Oh,
I promise. Let's see, which one is this one? So this one, that's me there. That's the one I'm showing now. That's the one to share. Okay, so it's not going to work. Is it not working there? Let me see something. Let me bring up there. Okay.
I thought it was just
No,
me that
well,
couldn't see it.
no one said
I was gonna say,
anything.
don't. Yeah, we all thought it was just us that
No,
couldn't see it.
no. I'm getting used to this new software, so
Yeah.
I forgot you were sharing the screen, and I needed to share my screen.
Oh, I see. I got
Remember?
you.
I
That makes sense.
yeah, does that make sense?
Hey, by the way, along that line, don't forget you can click on the comments and they'll pop up on the screen for everybody to see. So like if we're reading somebody's comments and questions, you can click on it and it'll pop up.
Okay.
It gives
But
as
I was looking at the chat box on Twitch, and of course I had no comments there about not seeing the screen, and you didn't say anything, so I figured I was fine.
no, I thought it was just me because I didn't have Twitch open.
No, nope.
But I would just suggest put like when we're reading somebody's question, I'd pop it up on the screen. It really helps for people watching as somebody who watches these things pretty often. And then
Oh, the question
probably
I can pop well, I can't pop the question up on the screen because I'm in full screen mode.
in the StreamYard, in the comments, if you watch the comments just on StreamYard, you
All
can
right.
just click on it. It'll just pop right up.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I'm in full screen mode. So let me share you again. Let me remove this one. Okay. Go ahead and share your screen.
It's shared. You just got to
It is
click on it.
shared. Oh, I see. I got to add it. There we go. You're there. So if I click on see, I have to be out of full screen mode. So if I click on this question, like, how are you
Well,
from
Howard, if
mobile?
you can, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I don't have access to this when I go to full screen mode. Is what I'm telling you.
Well, it's the same places you have access to clicking
Right.
on like
If I go to full screen mode, that disappears
so
completely.
don't go to full screen mode.
Well, I need to because I'm recording using Camtasia.
Huh. Oh,
Right. So
that's in.
Camtasia is recording my entire screen. If I don't go full screen, then I'm going to see all that desktop interface stuff there, and
Right.
that's not appealing to the user.
Hmm. That's not good.
Yeah, exactly. But like with OBS, it has a separate panel where I can do that, and it's
Hmm.
separate from the interface. Here, it's all blended in with the interface.
Couldn't you just couldn't you just record it on an entirely different? Why don't you just do the recording
Well,
on an entirely different computer?
no, the StreamYard should be able to do this. StreamYard should be able to record this stream without me doing this extra stuff, but I don't think it does yet.
I think that's a paid thing.
Yeah, maybe a paid thing. OBS will record. Um,
You could screen you could Camtasia on entirely different computer just on the full screen mode
yeah,
and
but I'm
have
not
and
set up for that. But I'm not set up for that right now.
yeah, no, not today. I know. Just looking
Yeah,
for
so
that's a shame. It's the interactivity is a cool part of the StreamYard thing.
yeah, it's yeah, they need to improve. I mean, I love it and I'm going to use it for now on, but they need to improve on the interactivity. There's too many little things, that's too many little gotchas in here that I'm
Well,
so used to having the freedom and the control with OBS.
yeah. Well,
So it's almost there.
that's what I was saying. Is it's a very simplified version, and it's OBS is awesome and complicated and free, and this one is simple and really cool for just walking right up and just using it immediately. But it's
Right.
like $20 a month or something.
Yeah, so 3D Guy says some Twitch screens have comments overlaid on top of the video all the time,
Hmm.
which is what on top of the video
So they
because
pop up as people are commenting. They pop up.
I don't know because I know the way OBS works and the way Twitch works. Twitch has the comments as a separate panel off to your right hand side of the video, so your comments are always there in front of everybody. Um, I don't know if Twitch actually overlays comments on top of the video, which is annoying anyway. I would just find that annoying. Like if I click on this here, well, this would be a nice instructional thing. Like if I want to, if I want to say, hey, this person has a question, like 3D guy, and then I can do that like so. I like that interaction. And then
Yeah,
I can just turn it
it's
off.
been, you know, as fantastic as I've been doing those Q&A shows where we can
Right,
just the question can just remain there. That way, it's just clearer for people who are watching. You can kind of some people are half watching, and there's all kinds of things, and it
right.
just makes it makes it just clarifies. It's really nice.
Yeah, I do. I really do like the functionality. I just got to, but if I'm going to record it, the problem is I don't know if the paid version allows StreamYard to actually record it internally, so that I can play right here with the full interface. Because the users are going to see the full interface, but I can't see the full interface. I can't
Like,
I
tell you
can't
what,
record it through Camtasia is the problem. So
I
I've
tell you
that
what,
I,
we can play with that. Let's play with it
well,
after,
afterwards.
because I've got
Yeah.
we don't need to make a commercial for Streamyard here, but I've been
So
doing
my
some. So I've noticed that there's an option to download something that was earlier streamed, and I haven't tried it yet. So I'll try it out and let you
Okay,
know.
so Day 3D guy says, yeah, video game streams on Twitch have comments on the video. Really? I've never seen that. That's really bizarre. As well as having it in the chat space. The overlay comments are only up for 10 seconds. So Twitch,
Automatically does it.
yeah, Twitch, you know what? Twitch probably has one of those commands in there where you can type a command to display somebody's comments. I just have to learn how to do it. But
Yeah, here Stephen has the option of deliberately putting up comments and questions when it makes sense, not just every little comment that comes
right,
up. You put up what you want.
right. And Mackinson's made a comment that he's with me. Overlay is annoying.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let me start the
Overlay Mac nonsense's comment right now. Go.
overlay Mac. Okay, where's Mac comment? There we go.
There you go.
Yay!
I don't think that's what he meant. He or she meant, but I think having every comment pop up would be annoying,
It's
but
annoying
having them pop up when you
when I
because
want
the
to.
presenter decided that's what they wanted, that makes perfect sense to me. I
Yeah,
love that. Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so let me resume recording. Cool. We're back from our break, and I'm gonna go ahead
Hey,
and Mac. Let's
just
see
real
you.
just because I'm interested and
Yeah,
we're yammering on about StreamYard. Um, Anybody in the comments, does it feel weird to be listening without seeing, like, see how we are now? He's got
right.
us popped up with in the corner, putting kids in us in the corner. Is that better than having the full screen and not being able to see any kind of personality interaction? Like, because I'm sitting here talking and I'm kind of every once in a while I'm looking at the camera and I'm thinking that people are looking at me and they're not, and I don't know how it comes. I'm just curious how it comes across, because
Yeah, I
at
know that a lot of streams like to have the avatar in the corner.
least some of the
I
time you could
find it,
pop in and out, but
yeah,
yeah,
we could. I mean, I find it distracting. I like it better. Let's see what the comments are. I'm with Steven. Oh,
full
okay,
screen the bomb.
full screen. Yeah, school.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. If you go full screen like that, then you get to see everything.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, even at the colleges that I teach at, when they recommend that when you do these live presentations, that you kind of show your face. But I disagree. I think having somebody there in the bottom corner, left to right, or top, or whatever you have, it's just annoying as hell.
Well, it's a little bit like the comments. Having the person constantly in there is a little annoying, but when you as the person who's driving the ship,
Yeah.
can add it in like when there's a demo going on, then it's full screen, and when you're talking about the things, then maybe it's both, and then every once in a while you have the screen off. So it's just
Now,
when you think it's appropriate.
okay, everybody 100% is saying
Full
full
screen,
screen is
full
the
screen.
best. The other way is annoying.
All right, cool.
All of them.
It's
I
just
mean,
me one. Yeah.
just as a teacher, I just found you don't need to see my face up there. You need to see the interface. You can hear my voice. You have
Yeah.
interaction with me. You don't need to see me. Not really.
Yeah. All right, cool. I was watching a couple of the ones you did before, and I felt like it was kind of missing that once in a while I'd like to see something more about the person. But
Yeah. When I
all right,
use OBS, I will put my face down there only because it's just seems to be standard. But a lot of times, I think most people prefer that you just don't. Um, I don't know. I guess it's an individual thing, but all right, go for it.
okay. Put me in the corner right now for a second.
Put you in the corner. All right. So hold on a second. I got to go back to get out of full screen
Oh,
mode.
sorry, I'm messing you up.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, no, not, I didn't mean to do that. Man, could add you.
It's not
Here we
worth.
go.
It wasn't.
Oh, he is.
It wasn't worth. It wasn't worth the joke. It was just gonna. It was supposed to be just quick and silly. Okay, so we don't.
Now, now,
Let's get
now,
back to photography.
now, if you had a baby Yoda, it would be cool.
Oh, I have a magnet
Did
over
you get the
there.
new Yoda that they have out there now? The like the $100 version.
Selling a lot of baby Yodas.
Yeah. Hey,
Jeez.
Mandala, welcome. Mandala's here. He's going
Someone,
to.
no one has commented yet to get back to the subject, guys.
All right, very that's right. Exactly. So, no, I know what's really funny is I do these streams, we start bullshitting around. I get more people jumping on than we actually doing the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. We've had a lot more comments talking about full
Yeah,
screen.
exactly.
I mean, if it
So,
weren't for Dave 3D guy, we would have been just talking to ourselves. So
so Mandala says he's going to say that exiting full screen and seeing your faces and facial expressions when you interact with each other is the right thing to do. Okay. So he likes it. Well, yeah, when we're like bullshitting around, and that's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Um,
Or when you get off on a tangent talking about you do this, I do that, blah blah blah, and it's not like live demo time. If we're
right,
taking a little break from that, then that
right.
yeah.
All right, cool.
Anyway,
All right, so I'm gonna go give you full screen,
so
and I'm gonna
what were we here to, what were we talking about?
yeah, we're
Chicago?
talking
Oh,
about
let's
Chicago.
let's talk
Hey,
Chicago now. Can anybody pick out which ones are HDR and which ones are not?
it should be like oh, it's not really a trick question. Kind of look at the image. Which ones are HDR and which ones are not? Of course, there's no number on them, so they can't really tell you.
Well, you can say like
No.
cylinder towers and
Okay.
panorama, and
Tower halos are HDR.
that's an obvious one. Look at this with a look at the whole
Yeah.
image. This is
Yeah.
clearly an HDR, yeah, for sure. But it takes a snapshot from a bar and makes it into. I think it's cool.
Where was that? That's Chicago, right? I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah, there's like a tourist spot up high where they have a bar, and
Nice.
so
I was
that just
raised in Chicago.
oh yeah, God, I love it. There was a yearly
River.
conference there for a while that was
Yeah.
wonderful, and
Oh yeah.
shout out to out of Chicago. They can't really obviously do it the same way anymore, but so yeah, we're up there, and I just had the Olympus again, so I didn't even have what I consider the great camera. I had a good one, and so there was some de-ghosting there to do there with the ship, and but it took a non-photo and made something that wasn't there. So anyway, I'm pretty sure that all. I'm pretty sure the answer on this is all.
Yeah.
Maybe not the spinning one. I think that was just long exposure.
So Mandala made a comment. He said I once had a very small minority ownership in a bar in Chicago, and also was a tech and also was in a tech startup that was formed there. It is really a great place. It is Chicago is an absolutely fabulous place. The weather absolutely sucks, but
Only been there in the summer.
yeah, I mean the culture, the people, the the art, the music is just absolutely outstanding.
Yeah. Real quick, side tip for photography is be nice and be talkative, because this when I was at this what is that, this the Navy Pier it's called, right, in
Right,
Chicago, and I was testing out. I had one of those platypod things. It's like a tripod replacement where it's flat, and
right,
it can sit anywhere. You can tie it to something, and it has a tripod mount. And so I was playing around with the long exposures, and somebody came up to me and told me I couldn't take photographs there. I couldn't use a tripod or whatever it was, whatever the rule was. And and just to out myself a little bit, if you try to tell me like I'm out in a public place and you tell me I can't do something with photos, I'm going to argue with you. So,
right.
but I argue with people in a nice way. So I talked, this guy was kind of interested in photography too. He's a nice guy. And in fact, I think he did a presentation at Out of Chicago later about about legal issues with. I'm pretty sure he did. So by the time I got done talking to him about photography and the platypod and long exposures and talking and BS and having a good time, I'd gotten my shots. So I left. Like I said, okay, well, I'm not allowed, so I better go. But I already got all my shots. So, ask forgiveness, right? Not permission.
That's right.
Side note. Okay, so we wanted to talk about some realistic shots. Okay, so on my screen is this is coming from the gallery on the HDR soft page, the Photomatix website. Should we reset here a little bit? If anybody wants to follow along, hdrsoft.com, and on the download page, you can download, and Photomatix Pro would be the way I would go. It's the main product, the standalone. It comes with a Lightroom plugin, because I'm sure almost everybody watching uses Lightroom, and that lets you, I can show you that if you want, lets you export from Lightroom into Photomatix Pro and automatically back into Lightroom. So you're kind of using all the best tools for the best tool for each step of the way. That means, well, that's a tangent I'm saving for coming up, actually, talking about RAW. Yeah, download Photomatix Pro. It's free. It doesn't, the demo's free, trial is free. It doesn't expire. It just adds watermark to processed images. You can even download some bracketed shot samples to play with if you don't have any. I'm losing my voice, guys. Comment if you're having trouble finding any of those. Comment, and I'll point you out. 1 second. I'm just shooting something in there for the voice. Okay, so where I wanted to go next was realistic shots. And since time flies, why don't I combine that with opening up Lightroom, and I'll show you a couple things. Combining subjects, it's the way to go, right? Okay. Now, of course, which hard drives do I have attached to this? I got a couple samples over here, I think. Yeah. Oh, good. I kind of wanted to show this one anyway, so got it handy. Okay, so real estate's a good use for this kind of thing, right? Where you've got, again, a dynamic range that really can't be covered in one shot. So this gives me a chance to talk about a few different subjects. One of them is just general workflow of which tools to use for each step. All the time, hey, can you use raw photos in Photomatix Pro? Of course you can. It has a raw converter, and that's what using raw means, right? It's that you're converting the raw from raw to something else. So processed images that you want to export as raw, that's just not a thing. Once they're processed, they're not raw anymore. So what I like to talk about is in with Lightroom, you can use Adobe Camera Raw right in Lightroom to do the raw conversion that includes lens correction, noise reduction, chromatic aberrations. All those things should really should be done in the raw conversion step. And so that's one reason to use the plugin this way. You don't have to. You can always export the images as TIFFs first, because that's what the plugin is going to do anyway. It's going to call on Lightroom to go raw to TIFF, 16-bit TIFF. Then it'll combine the TIFFs. It'll eliminate the TIFFs when they're not needed anymore, and then re-import the product. Okay, so for that reason, I would usually recommend just to do this on import. But if you're going to combine images into HDR, you want to set all of the exposure things just as 0. Don't change any exposure, contrast, blacks, whites, stuff like that. Rule of thumb is to leave all that at 0. There's a exception to that, which is using the fusion method, and that's because it's an entirely different kind of process. Even though it looks the same, looks like it's kind of the same thing in the Photomatix interface, it's actually stacking the images and doing an automated process, much like if you had stacked them in Photoshop and just masked out little parts until you had what you wanted. It does that in a more automatic way where it looks for the best pixel in the stack of each for each pixel.
So lens correction. Would you normally apply lens correction to all your images before, so that you can also bring those into Photomatix?
Yeah, I like to do it in that order. It's cleaner.
Okay.
Lens correction in Adobe Camera. Okay, if you do use raw photos in Photomatix, it has lens correction just for a library of lenses. So not all, but Adobe Camera Raw doesn't have all lenses either, but it has more. But it's a good step to do that in. Plus, you can synchronize the lens correction. So I can turn on chromatic aberration profile correction, so because it has the profile, so it does a nice correction. Plus, if you need to do what they now call transform, because like if your verticals are not straight or if there's barrel distortion or whatever from the lens, that can be done in there as well. And then they can be synchronized to all the bracketed photos, and then you combine those. So yeah, I consider that a good place to do it. If you, just again, because I have a support role for photography questions, I know that when you, for whatever reason, Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw has less lens profiles for TIFF versions than RAW versions. I mean, don't ask me why, but that's the case. So a lot of times, if you don't do that correction, if you don't do the profile correction first and then you bring it back in, depending on your lens, it won't recognize it. So there's a...
All right. So JW Vaughn has a question. Will Photomatix read the metadata if the RAWs are processed in Photoshop and not using Lightroom plugin?
Yeah, of course, unless you strip out the metadata, but typically it's all that's standard. So yeah, as long as it's there, sure, it'll read it.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's see, where was I? This is nice because it's just conversational, and then on the other hand, I get off my bullet list and forget where I was. So let's see. I want to. All right, so just want to do this so you can see what's going on a little bit. But as it happens, a lot of times your demo images, you try lots of different things. And maybe they get out of order. Maybe they get a little bit. Turned around. Okay, so I'm just filtering for raw images here, so I can be pretty sure that those are my raw brackets. Okay. Does anybody else find that Lightroom just displays their images out of order for no particular reason?
You have to right click and go to sort.
Yeah, but I thought
you have to go to sort sometimes.
I've tried all those things. I don't need to do it now. Okay, so one thing you can do is I'm just going to I just selected my, in this case, 9 brackets. I hope I have the I hope I have the right set of brackets because it's a little, I've become a little unorganized, I guess. But now I just right click, export on Photomatix Pro. There's we have another plugin that's the batch, so you can stack, use the stacking in Lightroom, and then just throw that at the batch plugin. It'll just run all the stacks at once. Okay, so we're just going to go to Photomatix Pro. I'm going to go ahead and align them because I don't know if they're aligned. I believe I shot those on a bean bag on a table, if I recall. There's no reason to remove ghosts. Nothing's moving around in there. And again, reduce noise and chromatic aberration did in Lightroom. And then you have the option, I mean, why would you uncheck it? To automatically re-import to the Lightroom library. Okay, I added a suffix PMP, that's what we insiders call Photomatix Pro. But so I can add a suffix so I know where it came from, and I'll bring it in as a 16-bit TIFF so I can continue to post-process with lots of detail there. All right, so up in the corner, really small in the screen share, I'm sure, covered up by the timer. It's exporting 9 photos, so that's converting the RAWs right now. And then it throws it to Photomatix, and there it's aligning, is what that little bar is. Aligning, merging, okay, here we go. Okay, so we have the same settings that we used before, so we're in black and white, so it looks like we're in old time, Casablanca, something like that. But we can use, I have the real estate options set up here in the presets. So just with the first one already looks pretty solid. So if you're, I don't know if there are any real estate photographers listening, probably not. Real estate's one of those things where you kind of have to work fast because they don't pay a lot. And man, the real estate photographers are underrated because interiors are difficult. You're dealing with different lighting, you're doing a huge dynamic range, all kinds of stuff. So, you know, for maybe I'm done. Maybe I just bring that in and I do a little bit of contrast edits and that's it. Or I can take it. This one has a little bit more of a realistic look to me, and I can make any quick edits that I want. I don't know if it needs it here too much, but if I'd like that green and blue to have some more pop. So I can do a brush adjustment with color, so I can really get in there. And I'm actually gonna go with turning the brightness down and just bring in the brush. And of course, obviously this can be done on other steps. It doesn't have to be done in Photomatix. Everybody watching says this is easy. Of course it is. You can do that in Photoshop. But just kind of pointing out options here. And then I might do the opposite on the guitar. Maybe I want to get a little more out of that. So saturate and lighten just a little bit, just to bring the eyeballs down to the guitar with a little more brightness, you know, something like that. So if I'm doing this for real estate, I'm probably done. If I'm doing it for a magazine, I have some color work to do and some details because I feel like it's a little bit dark over here and drab, and there should be some more pop in some of these areas. So a lot of options, but for our purposes, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just do one more quick one. I just feel like I would like this to be more even, but again, so many options. Oops, I don't like what I did. I'm going to undo that one and just okay. So I'm just doing some really quick adjustments for what my eyes see as being pretty imperfect, but it's pretty close. Okay, so I can, if I didn't do all that there, I would still be able to do probably the same work I just did. I probably could just choose a preset or choose some settings, and then I could go back into Lightroom and I could do those kinds of edits there as well. So you know what? Just to make the point, I'm going to do that. I'm going to clear out what I did. So it's removing the selective adjustments is what that little pop-up is saying. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to choose this one, Interior 2 preset, which I kind of live and die by, frankly. And I'm going to click finish and re-import over here. I was just looking at questions in case people have questions while I'm in the interface. Correction, paid photographers are unpaid. Meant underpaid. Oh, yeah. Yes, photographers are pretty much all underpaid now. I would probably agree with that. Okay. So that'll bring us back to Lightroom. Here is our finished, or our combined. So what we've done is combined those raw files into one 16-bit TIFF. You can call this an HDR file if you want, but it's not anymore. It's a TIFF, meaning an HDR file is not officially even viewable on my monitor anyway, and over the internet and all that. So this is now a normal TIFF image. So we've taken the HDR and squished it, like we talked about. We talked about before the break, is that we're taking that super wide histogram of dynamic range and just squeezing it down, and we've done that. So I know that just out there in the world, people call this an HDR image. I was doing it. Do you remember? I said, which one of these is HDR? And I said, probably all of them. I could have gone a different direction, and I could have said, actually, none of them, because they're tone mapped. They're now normal images. They're not HDR anymore. So it's just interesting to see how the terminology is arising. Like because you used an HDR method, because you bracketed the shots, that's going to be an HDR image. Or I'm not sure about that. Maybe it's just an image, and that's the direction I took. That's the tool I used in order to get the image, because maybe I was at this house at 1 p.m. and the light was horrible. So I used bracketing to get a shot that I couldn't have gotten otherwise. Or I had to zoom through a house in 30 minutes, or I had to, what else? I was up at those Colorado old barn shots, and that was the solution I used. I didn't bring in lighting equipment. I bracketed. So is that an HDR image? Yes and no. There's my tangent. All right, so coming back to talking about post-processing. Depending what the image is for, I could be done. Typically, I'll come back here. First thing I do is grab the black and white sliders. Can you guys hear all that racket in the background?
Oh yeah.
Yeah? Oh. I heard a laugh. I figured you recognized the Minecraft sounds. All right, so like I say, you can do the same kinds of edits that we were doing before. This is I need a term for this. Like minor surgery. If I just use the brush, I'm not moving pixels around, but I'm brushing in details. So I can do it that way. I could have done it there in Photomatix, but I'm doing it here. So a lot of options. All right, so there's kind of what I call a realistic version. In Lightroom, I like to, In Lightroom, I really like using this auto white balance to see what solution it comes up with, because we're looking for, this is when we're looking for quick solutions. So I feel like I can improve the color a little bit that way, doing it in a quick, very quick method. After talking about bracketing, I also would recommend, like I say, I carry around a camera when I'm just traveling or anything, and it's usually set on bracketing. And at the same time, I'd warn anybody, once you discover it, you got to realize that it doesn't apply to every situation. Like I went through a phase where I thought, if I bracket this, it'll make it a good photo, but if it's not a good photo, it's just not a good photo. And so I put a note down to talk about that, because I was laughing at myself at one point about that. So I was talking about RAW a little bit when I was exporting those. So let me know if if anything comes up about any questions about RAW, because it's a big deal. Again, I keep saying things like with your audience, Stephen, I think people probably understand it pretty well, but that's not always true. Doing the using the raw step for for some things is really important. And so I just wanted to, if other questions come up about that, we can definitely do that. I want to pay off the noise reduction question we had.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking, what I'm doing is thinking about what's a noisy set of images I have. I'd like to have a, okay, here. I think this will probably be a good one. Small sensors, more noise, in my experience, right? Let's see here. Okay, so this is a Micro Four Thirds camera. It's not new at all. It's one of the first ones. ISO 1000.
Wow.
So there should be some noise in it. So let me combine. It was these four. So this is a famous thing pretty nearby me, and I went out there one day, and it was horrible conditions for photos. But it was this kind of famous shipwreck. It had just been burned because oh my gosh, some numbskull did one of those. Remember, for a while there was people would do a long exposure and they would spin something set on fire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Some idiot was doing that on this famous shipwreck up here in Marin County, or might be north of Marin, but it's north of San Francisco a little bit, and burned the whole thing. I have other photos of other burned parts of it. It was just ridiculous.
So this is
And
after he burned it.
this is after, yeah. Anyway, let me just combine these. Just dragged them to my, as you can tell, I'm on Mac, and I dragged them to I like to drag to the dock on the icon is the way I like to go. Okay, here we go. Align source images, short tangent. Up here, there's a checkbox that says crop aligned images. So when you align images, there's little shifts, right? So there's a few pixels that are going to be uncovered at the edges sometimes when you shift them around. So it automatically crops those away naturally. Why not? Why would you want those? The answer is there are times you would want them, like if you're going to stitch the results. That's something that I do. So a stitcher will usually, I don't think any of them will accept differently sized images. So you would have to keep them the original size. So if you're ever going to do something like stitching them, or if you're going to, it's pretty popular to take your merged result from Photomatix and then layer one of the originals again and then do some painting. It's like we were doing with the blending section in Photomatix. You can do that on layers in Photoshop. So you would want to uncheck that so that the original size is exactly the same, and then when you drag them in together, they will align perfectly. Okay, so that's what that's for. No ghosts. Okay, aligning images. The secret's not that hard to describe. It's called fusion. So if you use like details enhancer and we use some strong settings, you're going to get noise that I don't know if it's viewable in here the way we're doing that, but in fact this method is called that's not what I chose, is it? It's called details enhancer, which means it enhances details, and that includes noise. That's why the halos that really oftentimes exist in nature, they get enhanced as well. Often, I think it's sometimes when they weren't as well, but that will all get enhanced. So you can start seeing noise in the sky here, and especially in the darker clouds. If you choose Fusion Natural, usually, it has an automatic and immediate way of reducing noise. And the reason is that it's using, remember I mentioned earlier that it's a simpler method than when you create a 32-bit HDR file and then tone map it. Those are steps going on in the background. But the fusion is, again, very much like if you had stacked the images in Photoshop layers and painted in and out parts that you wanted and parts you didn't. So Fusion does that by choosing what it thinks is the best pixel in, call it the stack of bracketed images. It'll, if you look, think of that as the vertical stack of, it'll look for the best pixel in each one. So if the pixel is noise, it's naturally not going to use that, right? So it has just this wonderfully natural way of avoiding tons of noise. So it's a really easy solution. I've even used that, and noise is random. So if you take the same shot, even at the same shutter speed, and there are ways to do this in Photoshop too, isn't it? I forgot the. Oh darn! It's been a little while, but there is a way of doing this in Photoshop where you can calculate. Darn it! One of you Photoshop experts. I'm okay with it, but I'm not an expert. But this is a really easy way to do it. I've done it with night scenes where I just took the same scene at the same shutter, the same exposure, and I just put it through Fusion.
Right.
And it just ignored a ton of the noise pixels. So it's a really great little secret you can use in a tough situation. Because again, we're thinking about a tool to solve a challenge, solve a problem. If you've got something you need to make it work, then that's just throwing more tools in your tool bag. Where are we at with questions here?
No questions yet.
All right. Let's see.
And again, if you're like me, I mean, if you running out of some of the images, I'll be happy to share something as well if you like.
I'll let you. I mean, I could go all day, but I'll
Okay.
let you. If you, I'm just checking my. I kind of work with bullet lists. I don't really have a. It's not a, and again, the list could keep going all day long, but I'm just checking for which things that I really wanted to make sure I mentioned.
Okay, cool.
So if I haven't been checking them off or anything. So if I think of something specific, I'll break in. But I can, you can, or I can go back to, like if anybody wants to see more about Lightroom interface, or I'm just going to click on. Whoa. I'm just going to click on finish this one to bring it off the screen. Yeah, I can. I have one more thing that I think this crew would be interested in. That's the only thing that I really have that I feel like I wanted to mention without letting it go. Is there is a. It can be tough to work with color when you have with bracketed images. A couple of reasons. Something again that speaks close to me is the interior that has multiple kinds of light sources. So not the one we just looked at, but this one, for instance, has natural light and man-made light, and
Nice.
that can be tough. So, sorry. Oh, and the other,
So
I got sidetracked. I'm
so
back.
one is shot with the light coming in naturally from outside, and the other one is where the photographer added light to the interior.
Well, what I mean by it is to describe the challenge is that you have natural light coming in, and then you have the lamps and the man-made lights,
Okay.
and those almost always, unless you have like in the new world of the LEDs, you can have lights that match the natural light.
Right.
So one solution for architecture, real estate, is to go through the house and replace all the bulbs with LEDs. But that's not that realistic most of the time. So those mixed colors can be an issue. The other thing
Right.
is that when you're taking bracketed shots, you're changing the luminance, right? And we know what goes into color, HSL, right? hue, saturation, and luminance.
Right.
So the different luminance is going to give you different color values in the end. And so a lot of times you're battling with that. So, normally we're just going through and just doing color correction. Everybody does color correction. This is nothing new. But one of the options that I was introduced to by somebody that I do the Q&A show with is using one using one flash just for the color. And I can show you what that looks like. It'll probably be just natural and no big deal for this group. But the ones that are, I'm just looking for where that is. The people that are not that are not considering themselves to be professional photographers, like they have a business and the photography is the business, but they're learning as they go, and they don't know about things like blending methods. That's coming up here. So I just have a PSD that shows that a little better. All right, so there's our shot, and then I have one
Okay.
that I just took a automatic TTL flash, so it wouldn't be a standalone. But just by adding that in, it corrects the color. So I know that those walls are not, the walls and the table and everything are not such don't have all that warmth to it. So I can get the correct color with basically adding one layer that I used, took the TTL flash. I did have to layer mask out I had to layer mask myself out because I was holding the strobe in the scene, but that's okay. It doesn't matter because I got what I needed. And then all I had to do was go up here and change the blending mode to color. So it looked like this with the flash layer, and then with the color, it just. I think the change is probably pretty subtle.
Okay.
Can you see it on there?
Yes.
Okay.
I see the warmth of the light coming in.
Yeah, it is pretty subtle now that I look at it in under this kind of a demonstration situation. This is just a shot from the other day, actually. So it's I hadn't considered that it was so subtle. But then I can bring the color in. I also so this is the conversation that we have. A lot of people that use Photomatix a lot like to add in one layer that they use that has a flash. So if you're using that fusion method that I mentioned, it can work great. So some people are just taking, say, their 7 bracketed shots,
Right.
that are normal bracketed shots, and they're adding in one with just a TTL set flash, just to throw some flash out there, and they just add it into the bracketed set, run it normally, and then swear by the results and love the results. This way is a little bit more technical, where we're just taking the color information only, but we know the color is right because it's a flash and the camera knows that, and we can white balance that. Of course, that's simple, right? So the that way we're not working just with a gray card, and we're not doing a lot of detailed color correction. We're just doing it with a couple of clicks, and it's a really nice solution for that color issue. One of the drawbacks is that when there's a shadow, it doesn't correct that automatically. So I did have to clone in a little bit around that light that's on the ceiling because there was a shadow
Okay.
in my I'm just adding this into my repertoire recently, so I haven't learned to avoid all the pitfalls yet, but it's a promising way to easily color correct just by a blending layer with color blending. So that's what I wanted to make. Just what I wanted to point out because it's a current trend, I think, or I was late to the party, one or the other.
And Dave 3D guy, you made a comment about he thinks you said something about covering noise reduction. I think he just did.
Dave took a break.
I must took a break. Yeah, he just covered that, but I'll cover it in the one that I'm going to show.
Okay.
I use it a little bit differently.
Yeah, mine, Dave, was just using, all you're doing is using Fusion Natural and Photomatix, and it just ignores no it ignores most of the noise pixels because it looks for the best pixel from each it looks for the best pixel throughout for each stacked. Like if you think of the stacked bracketed images, if you look down vertically through them, it's looking for the best pixel in each stack, and so it'll ignore the noise pixels, and it's just a natural, wonderful noise reducer. Even if you take the same shot at the same exposure over and over, the noise is random, so it'll take out most of it. There's the short. Don't be sorry, Dave, because you're part of this show. And 3D is close to my heart. That's where us panoramic people all started anyway. So if you need any background plates from the Bay Area, Dave, let me know.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have some places to go, like I say, I could keep going with samples, or you can, if you have some stuff you want to cover,
Yeah, I
anytime.
mean, it's sure, I'll be happy to do a little something. Let me go back and let me go get the images real quick. I'm going to be working with here. There we are, and then let me go and start
Like,
sharing my screen. I'll share something with you guys in terms of utilizing HDR and merging panoramic images. So
yeah,
you want
I was gonna say if we have time, I can show working with a bracketed 360s as well. That might be worthwhile if you want. But
all right? Let me make sure I'm selecting the wrong one.
yeah,
So
Dave started with mirror balls for 360s. I do remember them.
oh yes,
Let me check. There was at one point there was an option to, yeah, check it in Photomatix. It's still there. The legacy item in the utilities menu, unwrap mirror ball. It's still there. Because
interesting.
seriously, Photomatix started with really from the 360 world because it's one of the originators of the company is a 360 photographer as well. So we as a group pushed that because he was when they're looking for like a problem to solve and a product to create and all that, and he was like,
Right.
"Here's a problem we have, and we need a solution," and that's had a lot to do with it.
That's right. Oh my gosh. I mean, now we've got cameras to do all that for us, but using the mirror balls back then, I mean,
Oh,
that was a
here
lot of
am
work.
I on screen now? I've got a
Well,
you don't need
well,
a
no.
mirror, you don't need a mirror ball because you have instant 360 cameras now.
Oh, okay. You
That
want me to, let's see. Let me put you on screen so that you're maximized. Still getting used to the software here. Let's see. Let's go over and do that one. That's me. How do I
that's
do
mostly
you?
you, yeah.
That's no. I don't want to do that. I want to. Let's see. There. And both of
Oh,
us
here
is
we go.
on now, so it's a little bigger.
This is not a professional thing. This is, well, it's
Yeah.
kind of becoming professional in a way, but this little guy,
Yeah. Put it close to the camera. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
that'll let you shoot a 360 image, and it has two sensors, two lenses, and it just instantly shoots. And it's getting to the point where I've had a few versions of these as a 360 guy. This is the okay for people my age or more. You'll know about a Polaroid being used. Everybody knows about Polaroids, but being used as a little test. So back in the day with film, you'd take a Polaroid to just see, hey, how do I like my composition? How do I want to move stuff here? And now we just look at the back of the camera, but or an iPhone to use as a Polaroid. But this is a 360 Polaroid. I can instantly shoot it, see if it's worthwhile to pull out the SLR and do it right and do it bracketed, high res, everything. But these are awesome, and they're getting to the point. They're getting close to competing with real 360 photography. So I got to
So
watch out.
what is the cost on those cameras now?
The only one, well, the one I have is a Ryko Theta, and the latest one is $1,000, and it's worth it.
Okay.
The other ones are in the range of something like 350. The
Wow.
earlier versions I've had have been like 250 or 350. But there are a lot of competitors to these guys now. There's I can't think of the name. Well, there's GoPro one, but I don't think it's one of the main ones. There's a I can't think of the names offhand. There are quite a few competitors that are pretty good. This is arguably the best now. They finally, I'm sure they were listening to me, not really, but I've been saying that we need a bit bigger sensor in these things because they were horrible with noise, chromatic aberration. They were only good under the best of circumstances. So like a smartphone camera from a few iPhones ago,
Right.
when it was really only good under under good lighting conditions, and then it was good. These are like that where with a little bigger sensor, it solved a lot of problems. So it's better in more situations now. And
Right.
these things will bracket like crazy. They'll do all that stuff. So they're very cool.
All right.
So you don't
Yeah.
need mirror balls anymore. Thank God.
Like that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So, all right. So, what I'll do is I'm going to share a kind of a little workflow that I've learned utilizing Photomatix. So, this is a shot. I'm going to share this series of images that I'm going to kind of pull together here real quick. And this is a shot that I took in Santa Cruz, California, and it's the old dilapidated bridge coming off of what's that area called? Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the area. It's somebody type it in there if you remember this. Um, so here is let me go ahead and just actually bring this up. I'm in bridge. I'm going to just hit the space bar so we can see it full screen, and I'm going to kind of show you the images. Now, I'm working simplistically here because we're going to talk about shadows, midtones, and highlights. So I have compensation for shadows, midtones, and highlights for each one of these series of shots. Okay. Um, as you can see here, this is going to compensate for getting detail in my shadow areas. This is going to compensate getting details in the highlights. So it's underexposed by 2 stops. And this is going to be considered my normal shot overall. Now, I'm going to create an HDR of one of those, and I'm going to apply the algorithms to all the rest of them very quickly. And then at the same time, I'm going to explain to you what's going on in Photomatix. So what I'm going to do, Photomatix is right behind here. I'm going to kind of pull this down to the side a little bit. And I'm going to grab these first set of 3 here. I'm going to take it and just drag it on over on top of Photomatix, and Photomatix automatically sees it. I mean, it's kind of like just minimize that into the background. Um, as um, as Ron was sharing, Photomatix automatically recognizes the several different exposures. It shows it here. Um, I'm going to go to choose merge options, bottom right hand corner, and give it a little bit of a hot minute. There we go. So now we get a nice little option. Now I know this is on a tripod, so I'm not going to actually put in the line source images here. I can reduce the noise right there. So Dave 3D guy, we've got your noise reduction here starting. And of course, you can play with the strength of your noise reduction, right? I'm going to leave it here by default. Now, I tell you what, I'm going to cancel this out because it's something I need to do before that I started.
That's normal noise reduction, which is cool, of course, and all, but
Oh
that's
yeah,
uh that's kind of noise reduction that you'd expect.
yep. So what I do, let me go back and get it. I keep knocking it out of the way. Let's go maximize this here. All right, let's go ahead and just make these images a little bit larger. I'm going to take all of these. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these. Just going to work on one. Command or Control R to bring it into Adobe Camera Raw. Um, from here, I'm simply going to apply the lens correction. That's it. So optics, remove chromatic aberration. Now this is kind of small. It's you might not be able to see it, but I'm going to remove the chromatic aberration. I'm also going to apply the user profile for the lens. If I drop it down here, what you can see here is it's recognizing as my Canon lens. It's recognizing my optics, so it's going to apply some corrections for it, and that's it. So I'm gonna click done. Once that's done, you can see right up here in the top right-hand corner that I've applied some raw settings to it. So if I just right-click on that and then come over here to develop settings, and I'm gonna copy those settings, and I'm gonna select the rest of them. Actually, here, let's just bring it down so we can see them all together. There we go. I'm going to select the rest of them like so, and I'm going to right click, go to my develop settings, and then target paste settings. And that those settings have been applied to everything automatically. So I'm done at this point. Um, so let's see if I can come up here. So now, oops, it's giving me a little option here. It's asking me all those camera raw settings. What do you want to do with it? Apply them all? Yes, just click OK. Okay, so now you can see right there, all of them in the top right hand corner's got them. So that's kind of the way I handle all of this. Now, if you want to apply noise reduction, I'm gonna open up this one again. Command R. There we go. You can do that under the Detail tab. You can apply, here's your sharpening and here's your noise reduction here. So Dave, you probably want to play with this here. Adobe Camera Raw is really good for noise reduction. And so it's, you might want to just play with this one. You have noise, color noise reduction, and then we got the luminance noise reduction right about there. If I click on this one and bring it on over, I can start reducing a little bit of the noise. You don't see it unless you're 100% magnified or more. So I'm gonna go a little bit more. I'm about 200% magnification. So if I
Look in the under noise is exponentially more in underexposed areas. So look in the underbelly of the pier there.
there we go. And so that's the detail. Details kind of it's bringing in some of the original, and then you can play with the contrast here. Let's see the yeah, and some sharp. You know, you can. It's up to you if you want to apply sharpening. I don't apply a whole lot of the noise here, just a little bit of the noise reduction to get it smoothed out. So I want to maintain most of the detail that I can. Then I'm going to click done. Then I'm just going to go back. I want to go back and just go to develop settings, right click, develop settings, copy settings, and then apply it again to all the rest of them. Just to make sure that they all have it.
And
So I'm gonna go.
you're in Bridge there, right? I do
I am
the
bridge.
yeah I do that. I like this kind of workflow in Bridge too for what I do. And but when you're in Lightroom, you can turn on that sync settings and it'll keep them synchronized together. That's quite nice.
Yeah, and you can actually do the exact same thing in Adobe Camera Raw. I just didn't do it that way
Yeah.
because the, the the wonderful thing about Bridge and Adobe Camera Raw is that I can see my images where they sit. I don't need to import them in order to keep working.
Yeah,
When I've got
exactly.
when I've got when Lightroom is open, it's taking up a lot of my RAM that I want to be using when I'm working in Photoshop. So I reserve when I'm working artistically as an artist, I'm working this way. If I'm going to categorize and organize all of my images, I'm going to be working in Camera Raw, not Camera Raw, but Lightroom.
Right.
So we can see here all those settings have been applied. So that's cool. So we got all that. So pretty much in sync with what Ron was saying. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and minimize this down a little bit, drop it down a little bit. Um, let's go back and get Photomatix. There she is, and go back and get Bridge there. There we go. Let's go ahead and just drop it down just a little bit so I can see all of the images. And I'm just going to use one set. So yeah, there they are. So 1, 2, 3. Got those three.
So before you do that,
Yeah, sure.
you gotta realize that Adobe Camera Raw is Adobe's. And Photomatix,
Oh, export it out to TIFF,
yeah,
right?
you can't. Yeah, it's not an option to have Adobe Camera Raw in there. So
No,
yeah, you
he's
got to
absolutely
convert them
right.
to TIFF first. Yeah,
He's absolutely right. So what's happening is that all that information that we just did was is only saved in the sidecar file. So
right.
we want to be able to save all this and make it permanent in each one. So I'm gonna go ahead and just Command R. They're all selected down here at the bottom. Not yet. I'm going to hit Command A to select them all, and then export them right up here. Everybody can see that's probably a little difficult on this screen. We'll export them there. There we go. And then I get this little dialog box, which is asking me, where do you want them to go? So I'm going to go ahead and select the folder. We're going to go to the desktop to make it easy. Make a new folder, call it HDR. HDR with Ron Pepper. Cool. I didn't spell that right in there. Okay. Double click it. There we go. And that's the folder. Um, and I'll just name each one HDR. HDR underscore. Okay. And then just give it a number, 3-digit serial number. That's fine. And I'm going to save it as a TIFF. That's going to reserve the quality of the pixels. Anything else, Ron? You think I should go for here?
I'm not gonna have a good. Let me go full screen too and see what I can see here. There we go. Yeah, don't resize. Yeah, don't at this stage. Don't use sharpening, and you're not there, but I wanted to throw that in there.
Okay.
It's better to sharpen at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And the HDR process, I don't know why. That's another rule of thumb that the technical people tell me that I don't really couldn't tell you why. But right, I don't see anything else that I would change.
All right.
Well,
So,
the only thing I would say is I think you can more quickly. There's a quicker way to save, but that's
ah,
not that important.
not that important. I'm going to go ahead and save it.
Yeah.
It's done. So let's get out of here. Now we'll go to my desktop. There we go. HDR folder. There we are with Ron Pepper. Select them, merge them, not merge them, but drop them into HDR software. There we go. And I'm moving on. Now I don't need to align it because I know and they were on a tripod. Um,
You already did those. You already did
yeah,
those reductions. So I'd
yeah.
uncheck those. I'd uncheck. You don't need to apply reduce noise again.
Oh yeah. There we go. You're absolutely
Plus,
right.
noise reduction takes. It's kind of a time-consuming process, no matter who does it. Same thing with chromatic aberrations that should
Mm-hmm.
have been taken
Because
care
I've
of. I
already
think.
did that in
Yeah,
Photoshop.
yeah.
So we
Nothing's.
did both. Yeah.
Were those birds moving around any that you would need to remove ghosts, or
Mm,
it
I
doesn't
do.
matter? Like it may
It
not
doesn't
matter,
matter. I mean, the way I work, I do most of the work in Photoshop.
right?
But let's
That
see what he does
might be
over
one option
there.
to save those steps, but again, it's not that important here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Here, we're gonna go just merge the HDR. Let's take a look at the image. Okay, there we go. It does a pretty nice job already. Um, so the settings here are interesting because if we take a look at bridge, we got the shadows that we got one that represents exposure for the highlight. So this is my shadow information, my shadow depth. My mid-tone depth is here. I'm going to move it around a little bit so it's little bit more intuitive. So if let's go maximize this full screen. So all my shadow information is here, or the darker values exist in this particular image. Your mid-tone values are going to be here, and your highlight values are going to be mostly here. So in essence, we're compensating for getting detail on the shadows. Whereas in the very first one, we're compensating for getting detail in the highlights. So from what I can do, and I kind of want to get Ron's input on this, is that what I'm looking at here is this strength slider is recognizing your shadow details. If I pull this away, you notice that the image goes very bright.
Yeah, that's one of the things
Right.
you're in details enhancer, and it's so in addition to
If
dynamic
I'm
range,
gonna
there's
go
also detail. So you have it's how much detail are you keeping or recovering uh,
right now, is
or
detail enhancers. My question is that what we use if we want complete manual control?
I don't let's see here. I don't think of it that way. So,
Okay.
let's see. The way you ask it, I'm not quite sure. I see it. I see details enhancer being the most powerful in terms of being able to recover, not recover, or bring, maintain, or keep details from the source images. So you'll get like the most. You can get it so that nothing is burned out and nothing is blocked
Hmm.
out in the dark. So I look at it as being kind of the most powerful there, but it's also probably for the same reason. It's easy to go too far. It's easy to get that look that a lot of us don't like anymore. And so
Because
to,
I'm looking.
in terms of like taking manual control, I think of it more as finding the best engine. So you're looking at the different algorithms, the different methods up there, finding the best one of those and the best settings together. It's the most manual controls because you have so many options to choose from. That's the way I look at it. So some of those down there are kind of legacy items
Mhm.
that I don't know if they're too useful anymore. A lot of people swear by them, but I would,
Okay.
for something like this scene, I'd go for contrast optimizer. Is going to be a lot of realism in there. I think
Yeah. Okay. So I think you're confirming what I'm saying. It looks like the
maybe.
details enhancer is the one that's going to give you the most manual control. Um,
Yeah, I'm
I'm,
not sure.
I'm
Like the manual controls to me would be like the brushes and stuff. So we're probably thinking of a little bit different things. But
Yeah, yeah. The brushes is something I would do in Photoshop.
yeah, yeah,
For some, I'm just thinking in terms of how I would work. I wouldn't use the brushes. So I don't even use the brushes in Adobe Camera Raw or Lightroom. Um, I, I, I would rather use the power of Photoshop to bring in those brushes. I would almost, it's like I'm using HDR program even with Aurora. Aurora's got a lot of brush and masking abilities similar to Photoshop. I won't even use it in there. But
yeah. The power of the HDR software is more to get a good excuse me, to get a good combined image, and then specifically about Photomatix is just that you have so many different ways you can go from crazy surreal to hyper realistic. You can do so many things. So like I say,
right,
the power to me is to be able to choose between with so many tools, which can be which can make it complicated too. But if you have like going through presets to see what kind of options you have that might get close to what you want, and then tweaking it from there is
okay,
usually that's what I consider the most control because you can do so many different things. And
okay,
once you switch from details enhancer to one of the other ones, now
right,
you're using a whole different. I'm using the word engine over and over. That you're using a whole different way of doing this tone mapping because that's what you're doing now. You have that
hmm
32-bit image that you're tone mapping into a usable
hmm.
image.
So I'm thinking the key word here is tone mapping. Because in other words, it's like laying charcoal down on paper and then smearing out the charcoal into different into value gradients. It's almost as if it's looking at these values in here and just shifting them around a little bit. I mean, it's even with any software, any 3D, even Photoshop, even Aurora does the same thing. It's got some slider that's similar to strength that allows you to bring in more of those darker values or less of those darker values. So, in other words, we're using a more restricted range of values if we go up to like a third of the way through, using a third of those darker values in this image. If we want stronger, darker values, I can bring it up, and you can see it's being introduced throughout the image. And then we can start to tone map things out using tone compression and determine exactly how it should look. But I
Yeah.
like to work personally, and this is what people hate because they're using color to rely on. You know what? I've got guys. I've got a I'm wondering if I've got another image. I think that will be better as an example. I'm gonna grab it real fast. I
Well,
think it'll be better.
that's actually a cool situation for for HDR too, because you'd have, typically you'd use that close by piece of the pier for like a silhouette, almost a framing element. But now you can bracket, and now you've maintained all the options of what you want to make out of that image. So
Right,
it's kind of
exactly. Let me go right click and go make sure. Go. My mouse is still. Nice. Sort by file name. Go to HDR. Here's one I think will be even better. I think it'll make my point even better. Let me pull it down. And I took this one at Salt and Sea recently. These three here is Salt and Sea. Okay. And it's got this extreme interior dark. We've got these midtones on the outside, and of course, the brights out here. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and hit Command R, all three of them, and just go ahead and apply my optics, which, there we go.
you have a
There's,
spammer to kick out of the chat, and I
oh,
wish
yeah. I got to
I
figure out how to get them out of there.
I haven't figured out how to like comments yet, but IB Wizard said, "Wow, I used to have to trudge 4 miles through the snow to do 360s." Yep,
That's
yep.
right. So I'm gonna go ahead and export this out as a TIFF file, just like I did the last one, so we can permanently attach those lens corrections to this. So it's HDR, that's fine. Same folder is fine. Click save. This should be done, and I'm going to go back and grab those images in that folder right up here, desktop, and let's go to HDR with Ron Pepper. There we go. There they are. So just take a look at them real quick. All right, now this is going to make my point. Um, Let me drag it on inside. Click OK. All right, we'll just go to merge, continue. Yeah, we're fine. Merge to HDR. All right, so here's when it comes up. What happened here? See, it goes on the other screen. Drives me nuts. All right, so here's where it gets interesting. Um, that's really weird.
It looks like it needs alignment to me.
It
Is
needed
that
alignment. I thought this was on a tripod. Damn it. All right, fine. We'll do it again. We'll put an alignment in. I was absolutely sure that was on a tripod. I was wrong. All right, so we'll drag it on in there. And go to the next one. Continue alignment. Align those source images. There we go. And include perspective. Now, should I include perspective? No, I think perspective corrections being off should be fine.
if you moved it very much and like it was a flat? I mean, you could try it. It looked like it popped
All
up
right.
a. It looked like there popped up something saying they were a little bit different sized. But let's see
Okay,
what
that's
happens.
possible because my body could have been swaying forward and backwards. So we'll go with that. So let's see what it does now.
Stephen
Let's see
admits to
how
being
good.
wrong. Stop the presses.
Yeah. Let's see what happens
I don't
next.
have that impression of Stephen that he can't admit he's wrong.
Oh, I mean, I'm wrong all the time.
Me too.
That- That's there we go. Now that works. That's clean. That works. That was good. All right. So I've got all this wonderful color in here, and people are probably tired of hearing me say this, but that's kind of the Achilles heel is the color. You want to see the values, your depth. So what I do is I go to my saturation and pull it out completely, and I work the HDR this way.
Oh, I
All
like this
right.
idea. I'm going to play with this idea.
All right, because I'm working with values. Values is your depth, your texture, your sharpness. That's where all your values are going to be. That's where all that's going to exist in the value section. And if I pull out the strength, watch what happens. The darker values go away or less dominant. If I pull in the strength, the darker values, the darker image is starting to be it's darker pixels are being introduced into the scene. Okay. So um, this is what I want to kind of play with. I have a tendency to almost make the strength almost 100% or close to it.
What I meant to say earlier too is getting into each slider is
Hmm.
such a deep chasm. But
Yeah.
if anybody isn't aware, look on Steven's screen right now. On the bottom left, there's a little explanation that pops up.
Hmm.
So, like you can open and close that. So a lot of people don't see it. So you have to click that little arrow to make it to expand it. And then when you hover over a slider, it'll give you a quick explanation to get you going a little bit. Because again, those sliders, I mean, the geniuses that come up with this stuff are beyond me, you know. And so the exactly what they're doing, I don't try to memorize or learn exactly what each one is doing so much as just getting used to using them. So I know it's not the most satisfying thing to say about the sliders, but that's why you don't see a lot of people going into what each slider does, because they are pretty, to me they're complicated, to me they're engineering, and also every image acts so differently that it's
Hmm.
really difficult to create that expectation. And this is just me talking
Right.
with my experience. Stephen has a different way of doing it, and this is an awesome one, by the way. This is worth the price of admission right here. Is working on it in the black and white. I'm going to totally explore
Right.
this, man. That's a good
But
idea.
when you're working in black and white, you begin to understand the program. You're not in the dark about it anymore
Yeah.
because it's
Hmm.
Photoshop works with values. The key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections. Selections and master exactly the same thing. Master values, your black information, midtone, shadow. The same thing in Photomatix. It's the same concept. It's all about values. So it's allowing you to introduce darker, less dark values, or go through the range of your images to introduce more of the dark values.
Well,
If you go to the tone,
we're
if you go,
back to that color being made up of hue, luminance, and saturation,
that's
right?
exactly right. Don't let the get the color out of your way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and then tone compression is showing you just how it's introducing the combination of tones and shadows. Now, let's see, what is it doing? If I mouse over to here for tone compression, it's saying that adjust the dynamic range of the tone map image. Moving the slider to the right decreases the dynamic range. All right. So moving it to so in other words, if I move it to the right, well,
You could pull up the histogram
there we go.
to help show this
Let's see, where's the histogram?
under the
Where's that? Forget.
either under window or I always forget
Under
too.
window, where
Under view 8-bit histogram.
right over here. That's Photoshop back there.
Oh, I think you're covering up your
Covering it up there.
Photomatix window.
There we go, right back there. Here we go on the view menu.
Where I lost you now.
I'm in 8-bit now. Interesting. Let's see, where is
Yeah,
the hit?
that's ultimately what you're looking for. Is that's what a display, your monitor can, or paper can print, or your display can show is 8-bit. So that's what you're looking for tone mapping.
Okay, so the details contrast is increasing or decreasing the contrast in those midtone, in those shadow areas. You notice it's targeting more of the darker values here. Lighting adjustments is adjusting basically the contrast of the image. It's looking at the light and shadow and readjusting how they interact with one another. Smooth highlights is only affecting your highlights. It's taking your highlights and smoothing it out throughout your image. Of course, it reacts to how you have it set up here. Um, let's see. I want to go in now down over here. This is interesting. Where is this? Oh, I got to scroll down more. All right. Strength highlights is your smooth highlights, white point, black point. This is going to determine how strong your shadows are going to be or not. So I love this. See, so I can bring more detail on the whites, or I can intensify the whites, and it's just targeting the whites on. That's kind of nice. I love this. I just find that
Although
I just
the
think
white point's a really powerful one to think about, yeah. Because if something's burned out, you just move that down. And like when I was playing around with the Eclipse one,
right,
at first I go, oh, how come this is still burned? And just the white point was the solution.
right.
It's an important one.
Micro smoothing is just smoothing out the relationship between your shadows and the highlights. You can see right in here. If I bring it way over to the right, it gives you a distinct contrast between shadows, highlights, and midtones. Here just loosens it up a little bit in there. There we go. So, all right. So we'll say we like this one, right? Um, Let me just look at something else. We got this lighting effects here, or just presets.
Hold on, let me find you again. How come I got you in full screen and I keep losing that? There we go.
There we
Okay, where
go.
are you? Oh, yeah, the lighting adjustments. The button, the versions there are kind of the original. And
Right there.
when you uncheck that, you get that slider, which has a different way of doing things, and
Right.
it's good for realism.
Yeah. These are just presets, but if I uncheck it, that allows you to kind of use the slider to fine tune it.
It seems like that, but that and it's actually a different
But what
tool.
I'm
Like it,
yeah, what I'm looking at here is what is the primary point of focus. That's the thing I want the eye to go to, and allows me to adjust the overall image so that my eye is going to go to where. So my image will be manipulated in such a way so I want the viewer's eye to go to a certain place. Now this is not going to do everything. I'm just using this to to pull the details where I want them to be, and then after I'm done, I pull in the saturation. Now, if I remember correctly, my saturation by normal is in the dead center, zero here.
yeah, yeah. Just you can just double click
So
the.
if I start to move up slowly, look what's happening. It's already well saturated. I'm not anywhere near that center. So
You can saturate and unsaturate certain colors too with that pop up. So
this
like
one right here.
no, not the brush, but the
Oh,
little pop up goes the brush. Go up a little bit and X out the brush. Up, up, up.
X out the brush. Got it. All
No,
right.
up, up.
Oh, up higher.
Yeah, you got the brush tool open. It's up at the top of your screen.
Oh, here. Yeah.
X out of
There
that.
we
There
go.
you go. And then if
Yeah,
you use that, there's a pop up above those right below where it says color settings. There's a pop up.
yeah. Hmm.
You can work with certain colors.
Yeah,
So
there we go.
you get like reds oversaturate more easily than others,
Hmm.
for instance. So you can if you want to get really detailed, you can.
Let's see if we go to reds. See what that looks like. Just out of curiosity. Not much. How about if we go for blues out of curiosity? So we go to blues and we affect a saturation of blues. Interesting. Why am I not getting much of an effect? Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am. It's just really subtle. There we go. Yeah.
And your
There we
all
go.
colors saturation is still turned down low as well.
The all color saturations, you said?
Yeah, yeah. Use that pop up to go back to the all colors or
Oh,
image
yeah.
colors. Yeah, that one you had down pretty low as well. So that
Image colors.
that's a
That's what you mean, all colors?
yeah.
There you go. Yeah, well, that was supposed to be when I adjusted the values. You no longer want that up here anymore. It gets too garish.
Right. But what I was thinking is if that one is set to kind of quote unquote
Right,
normal, then you could pull down a blue or pull down a red. Or,
right. Maybe Bob there. I'm thinking might work pretty nicely. That's kind of fun.
yeah, that's cool.
Um, and this is what I would export out and then bring it in Photoshop to do something different to be more expressive. But I just love this program. I mean, you guys have an excellent product.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
so
Excuse
we
me,
have
my
to do the
voice is going.
giveaway, right?
Yeah,
All right.
let's
So
do it.
giveaway time, guys.
You can
Here, let me go share
show
the screen.
you can show my screen and I'll say what it is.
Okay, great. Let's see. Let's go back to. Let's see. How do we get you? That's me. That's me again. All right.
My
Just
screen.
playing around with that. I'm still getting used to this new platform. Um, so
You're gonna. I have so much fun with it. I love to just goof around and even go live just to say we're just playing, we're just playing. In fact,
So
well, you and I'll have to do something where I host. I'll have you on
yeah, yeah, we'll
on.
play around with this. This is great.
So, your group, we made your group a discount. Does that
All
apply
right.
to this? Who's watching? How do
Yeah,
we do
go
that?
ahead. If that applies, go ahead and put the discount code into the message box into Twitch.
Okay, so
Did
I've
you do
got,
that already?
well, we've got a private one for your group,
Right.
and so if we do like if we do a 25% off, it would have to be really short lived. So we like it wouldn't be evergreen to
Everybody
go with
heard
the what's that?
short lived. Telling everybody watching it's short lived.
Because if this is going to be like an evergreen thing that goes out there, we got to make sure that people know that that was for people watching this thing. So it would just be it'd be good for like a day. But I'll tell you what, there's one time that Photomatix goes on sale, just public sale. It's the only time all year for public sale is Black Friday.
Okay.
So so if you miss it, just watch for that. That's coming up. But I'll put I'm gonna have to.
Didn't we decide to do one for those who are watching today?
Yeah, I was a little bit unclear if that was for your group. Yeah, I'll put that in the comments in a second,
Okay.
and then we're gonna change the one for your group, the
All right.
private one.
So we're going. You guys going to get a discount code for Photomatix.
Yeah, it'll be for 25% off, and also Mac nonsense. Ron, possible to talk about 360 HDR bracketing? I could go on all day, and I would love to, but I think we're kind of wrapping up here.
Oh,
um,
it's 102 now.
okay, let me finish one thought.
Sure.
So we'll give away. It's called the Photomatix Pro Plus bundle. It's 119 normally, and that includes everything we did today. That batch plugin for Lightroom and a Photoshop tone mapping plugin if you want to use that as well. So you can choose who it is, and when we know that person, I know it's a little annoying. I need them to email me, and I'll take care of you.
Well,
Okay.
we're going to do that now.
Okay.
We're
So
going to
you
do it
choose
right
you choose who that is,
now.
and
Everybody listen up. I've got a number in Notepad here, and from 1 to 100, I have a number. So for Photomatix Pro, we're going to do the Photomatix Pro giveaway first, the suite. Whoever gets closest to my number wins Photomatix Pro. Then we got two more giveaways. We have one giveaway for the 1 year subscription to the Creative Cloud, and a giveaway to the 5 week Photoshop class. So we got three. So we'll do Photomatix first. So everybody just type in the chat box, in Twitch chat box, your number from 1 through 100. Okay, cool. Here comes the numbers. Here they come. Ooh, okay.
oh my coupon code's gonna get mixed up. I'm gonna wait. So
Yeah.
wait until everybody puts their guesses in.
Right, and then whoever wins is going to type in their email address in the chat box so that
Or
Ron can get it.
no, better yet. Well, I'll tell you when
Okay, sure.
because
All
I
right.
can. It's more official if we do it my way.
All
Because
right.
then I can add them into the official license system.
Sure. Sure. I won't say anything. I'll let you tell us what to do. All right. So is everybody done? Give you one more minute from 1 through 100.
I'll take 14. No, somebody got 14. I'll take 18.
Are you picking?
No, no.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
Very good.
and I was adding my guess in, but
Okay.
I'm just kidding, of course.
All right. Here we go. Here comes the number. It's 20. So Ruscular, you've got it.
Somebody hit 20?
Yep. He's got 21.
21.
He's the
Somebody
close
had,
to my number.
I thought somebody had nine. No, okay. Yeah, somebody has 19.
Oh, someone has 19. Oh shit. We got to break tie.
It's a runoff.
Okay.
It's a runoff.
Okay. So all right, I'm gonna pick another number and Ruscular, and the one has 19. Who is that? That's Osha. Oh, Osha. Hey Osha. Osha, it's between you and Ruscular. So pick a number between 1 and 10 and type it in the chat box. Okay, Ruscular's got 85. Come on, Osha.
You said 1 and 10, right?
Between 1 and 10. 1 to
85.
10. I said 1 to 10, Ruscular. Pick a number between 1 and 10. There. Okay. OSHA's got 7.
Well, she's definitely in the lead because it's between
Ruscular,
1 and 10.
Ruscular, are you just giving up on us? Is that what that was for?
5.
Okay. Ruscular's got 5.
2. Okay, Ruscular. Okay,
Ru-
Ruscular. Here. Okay,
Ruscular's.
first of all, first I'm pressing enter on the coupon code so anybody today can get. I put it through the weekend. It'll end Sunday night. So
Okay.
because I'm actually kind of breaking the rules. I might get in trouble because it's not supposed to be public of 25%. But anyway, it's just a short time, so I'll be okay. So anybody can do that. Second, at the beginning of the quarantine, I mean, this little company is really cool. We tried to think of something cool to do. And part of it is if you go to hdrsoft.com, it's easy, right? hdrsoft.com. Up on the top, there's one of those currently very typical COVID response bars. And if you click on that, part of it is you can get a free license for Photomatix Essentials, which is the Essentials version. It's like it's $39. And that's not a trial or anything. It's just you just fill out the thing and you'll get a license, and that's for the Essentials version. Okay, so I didn't show that today, but it'll do most that a lot of people want to do. So it's a good way to get started. So anybody can get that. If you want to get Photomax Pro or the bundle, you get 25% off. And for Ruscular, you don't have to support at hdrsoft.com
All right. Type that in for him to
is
get that.
that's in the comments. Oops, I
Okay.
just hit my microphone. Email me, just say, "Hey Ron, I won the thing," and I'll add
All
you
right.
in. I'll
And
add you
Ron,
in the.
he just gave you his email address.
Okay, but I know, but well, okay, yeah, I can do that too. Normally, the official way is shoot me a message. It says very official that way, like it's a real person.
All right. So,
Yeah.
Ruscular, would you do us a favor and shoot Ron a message? Get his email address.
Okay, anybody, Cimarron, just go to hdrsoft.com. I just put that in there. And there's a bar along the top that'll get you there.
Good. Ruscular says shooting an email. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay.
Also, just one more time at the end here, anybody that's interested, we started a Facebook group. We did a lot of things during the quarantine because we just, again, small company. We had time to think about some new things and get more involved. We
Yeah.
started a fit, and basically I'm saying me because I'm pretty social. And when I was sitting around in one place, I needed to do some more things. So we started a group. We've been doing live shows, live Facebook and YouTube, and maybe from now on Twitch. I don't know. And so we can get in there and do Q&As and do kind of share things, and it's been kind of fun. I'll love hopefully have you on, Stephen. Mostly for fun,
Absolutely.
mostly for fun. So reach out, get involved. If you send photography questions to that same email, support at hdrsoft.com, that's usually me that'll answer typically. That's all I can think of to throw out there. So
So you're talking to the company right here. Ron Pipper's the one that's going to be able to help you out here.
yeah, I do quite a few different things for them. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a software developer. I'm a photographer, but I do a lot of stuff with them. It's really fun. I love being involved with it all. And as you can tell, I like doing stuff like this, preferably at face-to-face photo conferences. I miss that, but when those start up again, hopefully somebody will reach out and say, "Hey, I saw you on such and such," and we can talk some photography. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we got a couple more drawings to do. So we got. I think we're all organized for the giveaway for HDR Soft. Now what we're going to do is we'll do the 5-week Photoshop workshops, and then the last we're going to do the 1 year subscription to the Creative Cloud. So I picked a number from 1 through 100. We're gonna do it again. Everybody type in your number now. From 1 through 100. This is for the 5-week Photoshop class. You should see some numbers. There we go. Numbers are in. They're coming through. Okay. Osea. I said OSHA. Did I mean OSHA? I meant Osea. Okay. Let's see, what do we have here? All right, that one more. Essence cheating. You have two of them in there. Get Mac and Sense. Ooh, Mac and Sense is in there. All right. I'm rooting for Osea. Okay, Ruskers was saying. Okay, but who wins is 10. And someone's got 10 on the dot, which is Mac and Sense. So Mac and Sense, send me your email. Type in your email address right now.
Mac nonsense.
Mac Nonsense. I'm missing the N in there. I totally missed the N in there. Okay, Mac Nonsense.
I
Gotcha.
like it.
Yeah, it is. Mac Nonsense, definitely. Too much money for those things.
Yeah, tell me about it. Had to get a new one right before the new ones came out.
Okay, Mac Nonsense. Type in your email address. I'll type mine in there as well. Okay. All right. So Mac Nonsense. There we go. Gotcha. Gotcha. I'm going to put a note down that you have the 5-week Photoshop class. Okay, so Photoshop class.
Thanks, thanks, Dave. No commission, but I'll look good. Thanks.
All right, so we've got next one more. The 1-year subscription to the Creative Cloud. That's basically everything Adobe owns. Photoshop and Illustrator,
That's a good one.
everything.
What is that, like 50 something a month now, right? Or more? What is that now?
That's about that much. You're about right.
That's a good
50
one.
something a month. And Ruskler says that he did the class. It's really good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes, he did. He did the 5-week Photoshop class. I think you did the beginning level one, right? I'm booking the next classes for next year. Next classes are coming up. Going to start January next year. So let me, yeah, okay. I'll you'll start about, it's the end of January because usually beginning of January everybody's out of town. Okay, so the 1-year subscription to the Creative Cloud. This is everything that Adobe owns, right? The entire suite for 1 year.
Adobe
So I'm putting it.
Spark and
I'm putting in a new number. Okay, go ahead and drop your numbers in, guys. From 1 to 100.
start using Premiere.
Yeah, Premiere Pro.
I mean, I've got to get your hands on Dreamweaver.
Yeah, Weaver.
Dreamweaver. Hello, 1998 called.
I was using Dreamweaver from the very beginning. I
Me
remember I
too.
was using Dreamweaver was called Dreamweaver Ultra Dev.
Ultra Dev.
Yeah, Dreamweaver Ultra Dev. That's when they were starting to introduce database capabilities in Dreamweaver.
I had a big book about yay thick on Dreamweaver, and
Yeah,
would sit at the coffee shops and try to.
yeah.
What's the Internet Archive now? Archive.org. Archive.
All right. So okay. So now Faye has okay. Here's my number for Creative Cloud, and then but don't just sit tight and just. Is everybody got the numbers in? All right. So Faye wins, but Faye is my assistant for the Photoshop class, so she doesn't count.
Come on now.
So we go to the next number that's closest to. Actually, no, Faye doesn't win. Dave 3D guy wins. Nah, Dave 3D guy wins. All right, cool. It doesn't matter. So Dave 3D guy, you got it. So subscription to the Creative Cloud. So what I need to have right now is type in your email address. And after the broadcast, I'll send this out to Adobe and CC you on it. Congratulations, everybody.
I just found a website I made with Dreamweaver in
Oh yeah.
Internet Archive.
I, I'm teaching an intro to web design class right now at the college, and yeah, I still use Dreamweaver. Um,
So it really is you. Okay. Oh, I'm sure
yeah,
it's been developed and everything,
it's Adobe's upgrading it every month practically.
hey, somebody asked about bracketing for 360s real fast, real
Okay,
fast. You're gonna if you're rotating, if you're doing a rotator, so you take a shot in one direction, you rotate, take another shot, rotate, and then you stitch them together, right? So if you're doing that kind of 360, make sure you use the same exposures for every time, every shot. So if it's bright in one direction, you don't change your exposures. You have to use the same exposures, but that's the reason that you can use bracketing. So you measure the brightest of the whole 360 and the darkest of the whole 360, and you bracket all of them exactly the same way. So some of them are going to be probably black on one end and some will be bright. But if you have the same bracketed sets for all the positions, then they'll be stitchable, especially if you're a PT GUI user. So
That's
so
cool.
don't make that. It's the natural thing. It's counterintuitive to rotate the camera and not change the exposure. But if you consider the exposure the whole way around, the
Right.
whole thing exposed the same way. If you consider it that way, then it makes sense. So that's my
All right.
yeah.
That's great information.
And you can actually look at a whole. It's been a few years, but the information holds up. I did a now it's LinkedIn Learning course. It used to be lynda.com. I did a whole
Right.
thing on 360-degree photography. You can go through the whole
Right.
thing on that.
So, Dave 3D guy, you're probably shy about putting your email address here in the chat box. So I typed my email address in there, so you can email me directly and let me know that you won the Creative Cloud subscription. So tomorrow I will be back. Huh?
Oh, I was gonna say, Dave won the. I was
Yeah,
thinking of something else. So it's karma for participating so much.
that's
You got
right.
the win.
That's
You got
right.
the win.
He's always here for both Photoshop and the 3D presentations.
Where's Dave at? Down by you?
I don't know, Dave 3D. Where are you located?
Muscular light wave.
Yeah, Dave. Where do you live? Just out of curiosity.
There's a little bit of delay by when we say something to when people get it.
Yeah. Oh, Los
LA,
Angeles.
LA.
He
Yeah,
says
he's right.
he's in
I
LA.
thought there was something about Southern California that
Dave
came up.
3D. Now this isn't Dave Gerard, is it? Okay, Rusker said he's in Portland, Oregon. Where's everybody else from? I'm curious. Everybody's typing where you're from.
Portland, where meth is legal now.
We all live in Twitch. Oh, David Bryant. Okay, but you do know who Dave Gerard is, right? He's a personal friend of mine. He's one of the top late wave 3D artists in Los Angeles, by the way. Earth.
Illuma graphic.
what? What? It's legal. Talented
Yeah,
dude. Yes, he is. So you do know Dave. Meth is legal and more. Yes, in Portland. That's why Portland made a lot of stuff legal, didn't it?
Oregon. They went for full Portugal and decriminalized like everything apparently. So,
Everything. It's
hey,
got
Moscow, Idaho. I used to go there to.
Moscow, Idaho. Wow.
That's where when you go to Washington State, that's where you go to drink because it was 18 or 19 years old or something at the time. A month
Okay.
ago in Idaho. I don't think it's that way anymore.
Rescue.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I said meth. I shouldn't have said meth.
Just did math. You meant math.
But I'm pretty sure it's true.
Rescue says he rides a scooter every day. That worries him.
What? Oh yeah. Well,
One toke over the line.
but now there's no more. There won't be a black market around it. So consider that
So
safety. Vancouver.
Bus 666 from Vancouver, BC. Yeah, I've been there. I've been there twice. I love the
So
Vancouver.
you can pop up their comments now that we're doing it. You can.
Oh, that's right.
Mandala has a shout out to meth and Moscow. And,
You're gonna get us in trouble, Ron.
I know. I'm sorry. I said meth. It just popped. It ADHD. It just popped out.
It just happened.
It just happened. Yeah.
It's just like people who have kids. Oh, it just happened. No, it didn't just happen.
Lots of stuff just happens. You just, you ask forgiveness again, remember? Not permission. Well, I hope everybody gets out shooting around here. I guess most of us are on the West Coast and it's 1:20 and it's time to get some rainy day jumping in the puddles shots or.
Oh, yeah. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Ron. You were fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. So that went really smoothly. I hope everybody liked it. I just, again, I don't like to do like a PowerPoint presentation. We just go with the flow and hope everything came out all right. If you have questions, that same email, support@hdrsoft.com, It'll get to me, especially if you put my name on it. But it's just a small, again, a small team of us. So you can ask questions about HDR photography, capturing software. Yeah, ask about anything except meth. Don't ask. I can't tell you how to, to do that. But
Okay, so Mac Nonsense is asking, where are your podcasts?
oh, we've been stuff I was kind of alluding to is that on Facebook Facebook slash HDR soft or just search Photomatix. We have a page, and we've been doing live streams that are Q&A. So much like this, where it's all live, I can't edit it. I can't take the meth comment out now, so I just have to own it. So we just do these live streams, and they've been really fun because we get people that are starting out in business, so like starting out in the photography business, or having. So I'll be having some guests on. Maybe Stephen will come on,
I
and we're
would love to.
talking
Come on, let's
like
set it up.
coming up. We're talking about full moon photography. We'll be talking about having on a few photographers that are just fantastic photographers, telling a quick story. So we're just trying out new things, not following any pattern of
Okay.
syndication or anything. We're just doing it for fun, but they stay there as evergreen, so you don't have to be there live.
So when can you get me on the channel? I mean, what's the earliest date you got? Just to,
Well,
do that afterwards.
I've been kind of given free run on that, so we can do it
Oh, so
anytime.
we can do whatever we want.
More or less. But if we keep bringing up Oregon, I'm
Oregon,
probably we're still it's great because we're not everybody's very honest and professional, and we're on a professional channel,
yeah,
but we still get to be ourselves. We're in quarantine. We're photographers. We're artists. We're people that don't know everything, that want to
right.
learn.
When
We're
I
I
remember when I was doing a presentation at the Adobe headquarters up in Seattle, and Oregon, all the weather's all the same up there, right? So I get off the airplane, I'm recognizing, well, these girls are beautiful. They really wear makeup, and their face is smooth and a lot of makeup on it. They don't do that in San Diego. And then I got closer and I realized, no, that's not makeup. These people are pasty
yeah yeah
because there's no
yeah.
sun up there.
Hey, I grew up in the Seattle area, and when I go to Portland, I think the weather's bad. So I never. But then I've been in San Francisco forever, where even when the weather's horrible, it's just gorgeous here. So I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't have too much to complain about.
yeah.
But
Well, I'll tell you what, my weather is way nicer than your weather.
yeah, yeah.
Way nicer.
There are very few places in the world that are more always perfect than San Diego.
Exactly.
Yeah.
San Diego is nice.
I'll show you some. I'll show you some resort photo work from down there from
Oh yeah.
Oceanside that I had the wonderful opportunity to go hang out there for weeks at a time to go shooting. It was great.
So Rescuer says that he has some moisture. It moisturizes his skin. It's so wet up there.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. It's raining all the time. It's always moist.
It's always moist. That's right. Now, I
Right
just
on.
got back from Death Valley, and it's really dry out there. It's like your lips get chapped, and
Oh, not
you have
good.
to use chapstick until your body gets used to it. Then you come back to the coast, it's kind of it's all moist again.
We're lucky around here. We're the coastal elite, right?
Yeah.
Even though I don't feel like it, but yeah, guess that's the case.
All
Yeah,
right.
cool.
So everybody, tomorrow at morning at 10 a.m., 3D podcast here. We're using Lightwave, but it's 3D in general. We also use other software like Blender and stuff in combination with Lightwave. If you're interested in 3D, make sure you're here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Ron, you're
Yeah,
fantastic. So we gotta set some dates. So I'll be happy to come on your channel and we can do a variety of stuff,
yeah.
especially with stuff with Photomatix. I would like to do something with Photomatix and Photoshop integration
Okay.
and
Yeah,
do something like that.
we can each bring an image to work on for it and run with it.
All right. So Simran says, love, love, love the presentation. This was useful
Thank you.
info for us all, even if you don't use HDR. Thank you so much. We really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
appreciate that.
Sometimes I
Thanks.
wonder, do people even really care about what I'm telling them?
Well, the feedback is what makes us decide to do more, right?
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
And so yeah, having so anybody kind of quietly feel like people will comment. It's not always true. If you have something good or bad, or well, if it's bad, hopefully it's helpful. Say it in a helpful way. Then please, we all want to know. Like
Okay.
yeah, photographers
Okay.
first, not we're not really broadcasters. So.
So Rescuer says, no, we come for the prize.
Well, he got one right.
Said grains of salt, baby. Back nonsense. Photomatix was the pioneer of HDR. Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Lomographics.
that's true. That's true. Granddaddy,
Yeah,
indeed.
yes, it was. Okay, so I'm hungry. It's
Yep.
time for lunch.
I'm gonna go play some Roblox.
Roblox?
Roblox.
What's that?
Everybody with kids knows Roblox.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, have mercy on your soul.
it's it's fun. It's fun for a while, but I'm a kid. I'm a kid at
For a
heart
while,
anyway.
a very short while.
All
That's
right, guys.
great. Okay, thanks for coming, everybody. So I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end the broadcast on the Twitch real quick, so you and I will still be on.
Okay. Thanks
Um,
everybody for contributing. Appreciate it.